This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Cabana Republic for Game 1 of the Faction Trials Match Qualifier. On the left side, playing the red, this is Edvin. And on the right side, playing the green, this is GreenAlert. Not playing the faction that you are probably expecting him to be playing, but that's what happens in the faction trial match. This is a best of 7, and one reason why I'm so interested in this event is not just because it's sponsored by Brett A. Happy birthday, by the way. But it's a really cool concept. Basically, these matches are going to be best of 7s, but instead of having some special map pool or something, it has a restriction on what factions you can play. Essentially, you have to rotate factions every game, and if you play allies, for example, in game number 1, you cannot play them again until game number 4. So Edvin is an Empire player. His main is Empire, and he is starting out with that GreenAlert. His main is Soviets, but he's kicking it off with allies, which means he probably is confident on Cabana Republic versus Edvin as Empire. And the way this tournament was supposed to work is they were only going to have 4 players in the first version of this tournament. They ended up opening it up to 6 players, so there's 2 extra players, which is why we have qualifying matches, and we'll have 4 best of 7s in total instead of 2 best of 7s. But we get to see some more players, and basically the winner of this goes on to essentially the preliminary finals, and then all the way at the end of the road is Dutch Army, who is waiting in essentially the grand finals. So the way that this works out is it is a very different kind of format. It is an intentionally very limited event, but we get to see variety and forced variety. So we're probably going to be seeing, as the games go on, people starting out with their strongest faction, going for that win with their best foot forward, and then, well, we'll see if they're able to get it, and we might even have some awkward matchups where someone ends up, you know, choosing their best faction right from the beginning. They lose a game, and then they're going into a second match, and now they don't actually get their strongest faction. They have to play off race, which very well could happen here. GreenAlert seems like he's opening up with a strong choice. Allies on Cabana Republic is not necessarily what you would think, but if he gets the win here, he can go into map number 2 with Soviets against whatever Edvin chooses there, or he could even hold Soviets in his hand for the 3rd match and then potentially hold it for game number 6 as well. Now, if you think this series is going to go the distance, then it is a good idea for you to play your strongest faction first, because obviously that is also going to be the faction that you will end on. And wow, that was a super value Tengu. That Tengu, the honorable discharge from that Tengu, killed off like 4 javelin soldiers there outside of that mecha bay. So unfortunately for GreenAlert, he almost just struck a game-winning blow, killing off that mecha bay while the MCV was moving up to the high ground for the expansion. And the result is he ended up just kind of getting goofed on there. Edvin pulled out the perfect counter, which was to suicide his Tengu and get the kill on all of those jabs. Unfortunately for Edvin, everything back at the home base of GreenAlert is walled up quite nicely, and GreenAlert has actually been delaying his tier 2 upgrade for quite a while. He did manage to grab both of the oil derricks, so that is a very nice advantage for GreenAlert. Obviously, he had to steal one of them away from Edvin, but he's got them now. He has a 3rd refinery much, much faster than Edvin, so his economy is booming by comparison to Edvin, and I have to imagine we're going to see a tier 2 very soon. Is this a naval yard coming up from GreenAlert? Assault destroyers are pretty common and pretty powerful on this map, Cabana Republic, so I would not be surprised to see assault destroyers coming out, but that would be a naval yard and tier 2 needing to come in for GreenAlert. And yeah, I'm just curious to see how this event works out with everyone having to rotate factions. Obviously, this is not going to be some giant money event where we're trying to determine the best player in the world. This is not the World Series of Red Alert 3. But when you're forced to play different matchups, it's definitely more entertaining for the viewer. And it can be a challenge for the players to, you know, get them out of their comfort zone, which Red Alert 3 players famously don't like leaving their comfort zone, but that's okay. These 6 players are willing to do that. And actually, it might only be 5 players. They may have only expanded out by 1 player instead of 2 players. We'll see when we get to the end of it. But yeah, GreenAlert versus Edvin. Game number 1 off to a slow start. We had some action initially, and then things really hit the pause button as GreenAlert went for that second airfield. Didn't go tier 2, and moved his MCV after that. Feels like he got a solid advantage, and then he decided to just kind of pump the brakes. And as you can see, this double airfield, is this triple airfield? Yeah, with the airfield in the main base, this is a triple airfield build. I didn't even clock that consciously, that the other airfield was in the main. It means he can snipe refineries, and he still has quite a few Apollos as well. 6 Apollos in the sky. That's a lot of anti-Tengu firepower available for GreenAlert, and he is definitely playing this one super safe against Edvin. He got that advantage early on. He's obviously very confident against Edvin in this match on this map, and he is happy to play this one out in a little bit of an unorthodox way, but in a very slow and solid way. Another refinery is going to get sniped. If he wanted to get the win, he could have gone for a turret push. He could have gone for cryocopters right away. But instead, he is letting this one drag out a bit. Edvin does manage to get the oil derrick back. Not a huge advantage for Edvin, considering he just lost 2 refineries, and GreenAlert has taken a 4th refinery. So the refinery count is now 1-4, and GreenAlert has the potential of taking a 5th refinery up here on the high ground, which is bad news bears, I guess. If you're good at math, then you probably have identified that 5 is a bigger number than 1, and it's looking like we're about to have 5 refineries versus 1 refinery. Don't worry, boys. Edvin has his 2nd ore refinery coming online. He did grab both of the oil derricks, so it is a little bit more than just 1-2 refineries. He's got that extra bit of income. GreenAlert in low power mode for just a moment here. Cryo shot fires off. Another refinery gets eaten up, and these Tengus will be crashing down onto the ground. The cryo shot takes the strikers out of the picture, but the Vindicators pretty much all dropped their bombs on the building, so none of those units actually died. A second multi-gunner turret gets established here, and those Imperial Warriors are going to have to head for the hills. Naval Yard is going to be coming up for GreenAlert, and as you can see on the income reporter, it's plus 4K per minute in income ahead for GreenAlert. So every minute that goes by, he is essentially 4,000 credits ahead, which that's that's a lot of Vindicators over his opponent, a lot of Apollos over those Tengus, or even he could go for a ground army. Still no tier 2 for GreenAlert. He's still sitting on this tier 1. And Edvin is maybe also goofing a little bit. I'm not sure what this 4 harvester refinery stack is about, but he does get a kill on a Vindicator there. I'm not sure why Edvin is doing that. I think Edvin realizes that he is been in a bad situation for a long time, and so he just has kind of given up. He does still have a little bit of cash in the bank, mostly due to those oil derricks cranking out money for him. Naval Yard comes up. Tier 2 has been purchased, and GreenAlert packs up his MCV. So we don't even get to see the Tier 2 production come online, really, here, because he packs up his MCV and he heads for the main base. Lots of multi-gunner turrets here for GreenAlert. He is feeling very safe and secure, and he's now going to bomb out that mecha bay, which does get sold off there, and a couple of the indicators maybe just go for the oil derrick, I guess. You've got not much else to do on this map, so killing off that oil derrick is an extra little win. Edvin may also have walls soon protecting allied ore refineries. Tengus are here. Cryo shot will be firing off. Tengus will be able to dodge that. Strikers don't transform. There is going to be point defense drones, and it's going to be 2 Tengus versus 2 Riptides. And the Strikers are, I guess, so scared of the Apollos that they are not going to even transform a little bit. Harvesters are going to be targeting down that command hub. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Getting refinery, let's see, it'll be 6 and 7. So yeah, getting refinery number 7 is not that important when you've already got this position. And finally, the GG comes out. Edvin has been defeated. I'm not sure what was going on in that game. They could have been chatting back and forth to each other for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Edvin definitely hit a point where he was no longer playing the game to win. And that'll do it for game number 1. Let's see what factions they choose in game number 2. And that brings us to Industrial Strength for game 2. And as you can see, it is Soviets versus Empire. Sticking with that green, but switching it up to Empire. This is GreenAlert. And on the south side, playing that red, you already know, playing Soviets, it is Edvin. Soviets versus Empire here on Industrial Strength. I almost am surprised that Edvin didn't choose allies. I would have probably gone Industrial Strength and allies and Cryo Rushed. That would seem like one of the best choices versus GreenAlert. GreenAlert is probably going to be just fine versus a standard Soviet build order on Industrial Strength. We'll find out. I know GreenAlert is not necessarily a fan of playing Industrial Strength as Soviets, so I know that was versus allies, but I imagine he's going to be feeling pretty good about playing Empire versus Soviets on this map, but we'll see what kind of Tengu spam GreenAlert can get up to. For now, everything is looking pretty stock standard except this MCV angle and this defender core. So we have a bit of an aggressive move here by GreenAlert. He is Empire turret pushing, which Soviet turret pushing is bad enough because the buildings can be damaged as they are constructing, but Empire turret pushing is truly abysmal. Defender VXs are not the ideal candidate for pushing down a base, and we shall see what they manage to do. Hammer Tank is out. There are some tank busters as well, and actually GreenAlert sells off his barracks. He is low on cash, but he did go for 2 refineries and an oil derrick, so he does at the very least have the standard income that you would expect. But of course it is low on cash. Okay, he's low on cash in part because he went tier 2. He has got strikers out already. And this terror drone is nice, but the terror drone might actually get the infect. Nope, he does not. The bullfrog shows up. It's going to be tank busters going for the kill on the barracks, and whatever comes out of there will get sliced and diced immediately. Edvin getting shut down at his front door here, and the tank busters will be protected by that MCV for the current moment. Strikers gonna move in. They will be able to get the kill on that hammer tank, and they want to help. They want to get the kill on the terror drone, but they won't be able to find the damage. MCV from Edvin just crosses the map. He has a super reactor, at least for now, so he can go for the Tesla push from here. Another defender core. I guess you can sell off these defender cores back there, but another defender core here right onto the front lines. The strikers move into position once again. They're going to be able to get a lot of damage down onto that sickle, and they will be able to push and chase that bullfrog, killing it. The terror drone is still here, so that MCV cannot pack up very safely, and the front line is being broken. Edvin wasting his time on the other side of the map to try and keep GreenAlert busy. At the same time, he wants to capture all of GreenAlert's stuff. So we'll see if GreenAlert has a Tengu coming out. If an engineer manages to sneak into here, that could actually be absolutely hilarious. But the war factory is now down. Sentry gun is coming up, and the super reactor is about to be targeted. Edvin if he pulls off a heist, a true heist of an engineer stealing one of these buildings, I would go right for the War Factory, at least force the sell-off of the War Factory. He will get the refinery, and GreenAlert now has the extremely awkward situation of losing that refinery in his main base. There's the sell-off of that refinery. And Edvin, he's lost his super reactor. The rest of his base is under threat, but GreenAlert just doesn't care. Engineer gets sniped, War Factory gets sold off, and GreenAlert is now wise to what has happened in the back line. His own main has been cracked, just not quite in the same way that GreenAlert has broken open Edvin's base. Edvin getting this refinery up nice and early was a very wise move. His income is already stabilizing since he has had that oil derrick this entire time. For now, he still has both of his refineries in his main base, plus that third. So he's actually looking just fine in income. Not for long. He will very soon be out of work at home. And, well, there goes the harvester, and that is going to be it for the income back at home. Strikers are going to be targeting down that flag cannon. It's low power mode, but one of the strikers goes down. The other strikers have escaped for now, and they might just have to kind of position themselves in a very careful way to be able to deal with this base. Satellites, it looks like, getting called in on that defender core, and GreenAlert, very low on cash, has spent himself into an awkward situation. MCV goes for the crush. MCV gets the striker, and the other striker goes down. Edvin's Bullfrog survives, and it's going to be the terror drone hero that allows Edvin to get the kills there. This is why you don't base push with Empire. By the way, grabbing the garage, GreenAlert is a great choice for him. A fantastic move to grab that garage when you're doing this kind of a goofy build, this kind of a weird strategy. And GreenAlert has very little income. He does have walls, at least, protecting that ore refinery, and he does have an oil derrick as well. Fresh ore refinery is going to be coming up, and this is faction trial matchup. If you can survive the trial, which is rotating these factions, then you may win, but it is going to be at the cost of our entertainment. Sickle going for the harass on that harvester, and this garage means that harvester is going to be surviving a whole lot longer than it normally would be. Still in low power mode, Edvin in this very awkward situation where he, has an economy but has been in low power mode. He's been having that slow production for a lot of this game. And Edvin, he has actually been leading in economy for most of this match, but it means so little because both of the economies of these players are so reduced from what they would normally be. At 7.5 minutes, Edvin's only at 22k. GreenAlert's only at 18k, which is not your typical kind of situation with the economy of a Soviet and an Empire player. And actually, the Harvester wins the fight. The Harvester with the garage wins the fight. And Edvin is now going to be body blocking his own Harvester in with the help of that barracks. You can always just sell off these walls over here when you're the Empire player. But in this case, yeah, the Harvester is just going to be getting harassed by Harvester of the Empire player. GreenAlert has now taken a second refinery in Edvin's main base, and this is the world's slowest base trade situation. Normally, when this happens on this map, it's because an allied player is turret pushing, and the other player just sort of runs for the hills, and they manage to make it work. But it happens a lot faster than this. This is a slow motion crash. It almost feels like we're also somehow like crashing in reverse, where instead of the cars were going forward, they just backed into each other, so it's even slower than it would be ordinarily. But this Harvester is going to die. Edvin's Harvester dies to the Empire Harvester of GreenAlert, which also has point defense drones, and another Harvester is gonna kill the Sickle with the help of the garage. That Harvester goes double vet in a straight up 1v1 game, and Edvin taps out out. He gives up here in game number 2 on industrial strength. That was ridiculous. A base push as Empire. This is the silliness that is created by the faction trial match. And that will send us to Fire Island for our next match. And well, you already know who it is in the north playing the green. This is GreenAlert. Meanwhile, in the south playing the red, this playing allies is Edvin. Edvin not looking good in this best of 7. Hey, it is not a normal match. This is not how things would typically be going. But we do finally have GreenAlert on his strongest faction. He is playing Soviets. If he base pushes here, if he turret pushes his opponent, it will not be like that last game, which just went into Clown Town so quickly with an Empire base push. But GreenAlert proved that you can do it. It is technically a strategy. It is just not one that I would ever recommend anyone do ever. Oh my gosh, this engineer is going to get sniped. Oh, Edvin bringing out the big guns. And I mean, honestly, depending on how you want to play this, Fire Island can be a pretty good map for allies as well. GreenAlert grabs, attempts to grab both of the oil derricks. He doesn't get the one in the north because of that. This is the double barracks base push. GreenAlert did this in Chrono Clash versus OP Shizhao, but that was a very different context than this. This looks exactly the same as the double... Okay, no, he deploys his MCV. Never mind. It is not the double barracks base push that we saw in Chrono Clash. It is similar, though. It is the double barracks, and it was almost a base push, but he does stop. He gets a third refinery, and now he's just hoping his infantry can essentially win the fight, and that Peacekeeper will go down. So at least he eliminates the Peacekeepers. He stops that, and he also will be able to block these refinery locations, which just annoying for Edvin to deal with. It delays the third refinery by a decent amount, and GreenAlert, while all of this is happening, he was able to grab that second oil derrick, so GreenAlert's economy stabilized very nicely. 3 refineries, 2 oil derricks. He is in a comfortable spot for the current moment. He is poised to take a 4th refinery, and the best thing is, he is wasting so much of the allied players' time bombing conscripts. It is not free, of course, but it does take micro. It does take attention. The allied player, in this case, you know, drops a couple of bombs on that conscript. It means he's not clearing out other things. He does deploy a multi-gunner turret so that he can clear out those bears, and the other bears will be cleaned up by the Vindicators. This multi-gunner turret place, not bad either. It does leave some weakness over here, so GreenAlert will obviously see this multi-gunner turret, and he'll either want to leech it down with hammer tanks, or he will want to push in over here. And that means Edvin, he's got a decent placement for a turret, but he is going to need more to be able to deal with GreenAlert, who is now on 4 refineries. I think he is about to lose one of these oil derricks, so Edvin will be able to grab back one of those oil derricks, which is always nice. And once again, the airfield is going to be under threat. Goes for the refinery. He did not know that there were conscripts headed his way. He would not have gone for that refinery in this situation if he knew that all of these conscripts were here. Little split of the conscripts there. The automated split button there, slamming that X key for GreenAlert. And the result is the micro isn't perfect. The conscripts are too many. The Vindicators... Okay, they got off the deck. Oh, I was a little bit worried there that he was going to lose the Vindicators on the deck, and that would have been 4,800 down the drain. Instead, he is going to have to deal with this conscript army at the back of his base. They'll be able to take down this power plant. They'll be able to take down that refinery unless Edvin responds to that, and that just gives so much free space for GreenAlert to do whatever he wants, but he won't get that oil derrick back because those jabs find the perfect kill there. 4 refineries, but going for a 5th, as GreenAlert gets the refinery, gets the power plant as well, and he might even get this Riptide. No, Edvin's dodging skills are pretty good. The micro on the Vindicators is also pretty good. One of the conscripts goes heroic there. Even a couple of them maybe have gone heroic. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the Javs did not manage to kill off that ore refinery, and Edvin playing well as allies, but it still does feel like GreenAlert is a bit more of a... It has the advantage. GreenAlert is the overdog here, so he can do things like sending 2 engineers. 3 engineers have died trying to capture this oil derrick. Only 1 engineer of the 4 that have been sent over there have actually successfully captured that oil derrick, and now these Vindicators, they just kind of have to find a place to deploy their bombs. And now they're going to take a very long and awkward route back to their home. In the meantime, GreenAlert has gone up to 5 refineries. He's still got 1 of those oil derricks, so he is a very comfortable 1,500 per minute ahead of his opponent. Satellite drop going to be coming in, and it will lock down that. Those 2 Riptides get eliminated with the help of those terror drones, and these bullfrogs, they may not have caught those Vindicators, but boy oh boy did those Vindicators have to take an extremely long and awkward route to get home. They could have gone on possibly 2 bombing runs in the amount of time that it took them to get back home, and they're only just now arriving to refuel and rearm. GreenAlert forcing a very awkward delay for those aircraft. And once again, an engineer steps forward. The Bears are here to protect him, and Tier 2 is up and running for Edvin. So he does finally have an assault destroyer here. He does finally have that high-tech allied firepower, and the engineer will successfully pull off the heist. He will be able to get that oil derrick, and the lag will kill off that bullfrog. That's one of those things where sometimes Red Alert 3 does decide that something has happened after something else, like for example a bullfrog getting crushed after a assault destroyer has already been destroyed. How does that happen? Well, I guess just lag and poor netcode here for Red Alert 3. Peacekeeper will go down, and 5 refineries up and running, but it's going to be a turret push for a 6th refinery from GreenAlert. He says, you know what? I don't need my refineries to build an army. I'll just build an army out of buildings and turret push you down. And actually, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just take the refinery location and just skip the turret push for now, because his infantry push is going so well on the front line. Terror drone could get the infect. There is repairs nearby. The flak troopers are looking good. Cryo shot will fire off. It's going to catch a decent chunk of this infantry, but it doesn't matter. The GG comes out, and GreenAlert gets a 3rd win versus Edvin. GreenAlert looking and feeling fantastic in this faction trial match. He's hoping to go up to the preliminary finals, but he still has to win 1 more game. And the comeback needs to begin right here, right now, for the red player in the north. Returning to Empire here for game number 4. This is Edvin. And in the south, on the cusp of victory, and also returning to allies, this is GreenAlert. Will we see another goofball clown show kind of game like we saw on Fire Island or Industrial Strength? Or will we see something that is total domination like Cabana Republic? Edvin has to win 4 games in a row for this best of 7 to be able to knock GreenAlert out of this event and have a shot at making it to the final match. Edvin, he's opened up at least 3 barracks. Only one of the dojos hasn't deployed. The other 2 have deployed. But GreenAlert opened double barracks and pumped out quite a few peacekeepers. However, Edvin has not at all contested the middle of the map. This is something that we see a lot of Empire players do, is fight for this middle of the map, because every peacekeeper that trades a life for every Imperial warrior is just $50 less spent by the Empire player. So the allied player can very quickly drain their bank account by producing a ton of peacekeepers to try and hold the middle of the map, whereas the Empire player can hold that same area for cheaper. However, in this case, Edvin didn't really contend to the middle of the map. He just said, you can have it. I will kind of posture out front, and, well, that's a lot of Imperial warriors, but they're not really doing anything. Burst drone flies over the main base. It will get clipped by that multi-gunner turret, and the third refinery should be coming up here for GreenAlert. About 2/3 of the way done. More posturing by Edvin. GreenAlert does also have this dog scouting this refinery. He is going to try and go and block that location, which of course won't work very well. The refinery can just go for the kill. Since Edvin did not go for the water, you really can't block the refinery. But GreenAlert will, at the very least, have the knowledge of when that refinery deploys, and he will know that it is... Oh, he's just going to try and out-micro him. So the refinery will get blocked, and the dog is essentially, yeah, just going to try and evade that refinery. It doesn't work for very long, and now that refinery will deploy. But that's probably a solid 1 to 2 minutes behind this refinery of GreenAlert. Definitely 60 seconds, maybe a full 2 minutes, maybe, you know, maybe it's only 90 seconds, but that is a nice little advantage that GreenAlert has over Edvin. Not a huge advantage, all things considered, but that is just a little bit of an advantage over Edvin. Multi-gunner turrets are here, 2 of them, plus a naval yard. And still, this Yari mini-sub finds a spot where there is nothing defending. And, well, now the assault destroyer is here. This is going to be difficult, but the Yari mini-sub will go suicidal. Takes a big chunk of health out of that ore refinery, and it's tier 2 around the map. So we do have a tier 2 naval yard for Edvin. He produces another Yari mini-sub, and he is going to clear out the middle of the map. This is actually perfect. The use of that... well, okay, it was perfect. The use of that tsunami tank was great by Edvin until he let it just stand in the damage of the peacekeepers and die. But other than that, that was actually a great clearing of the middle of the map. Uses that tsunami tank to absorb a lot of the damage, get the crush on all of the frontline peacekeepers, and then clear out the buildings. That was super efficient. If only... more was going Edvin's way in this game. Assault Destroyer will be able to stop these 2 Yari mini-subs depending on how they choose to engage, but Edvin is actually just going full-on aggression mode. GreenAlert does not have a lot of cash in the bank. He does have something queued. He might have a multi-gunner turret ready to go, but I actually really like this from Edvin, hitting at the Navy and hitting on the land at the same time. He's got a couple of tank busters to break down these walls. He's got a tsunami tank to chase down this prospector, and the harvester is going to go on the crush, but it's going to be leaving this base open as a second assault destroyer will be produced, and these 2 Yari mini-subs are going to town on that MCV. Multi-gunner turret finally deploys there on the high ground, and the tsunami tank has shut down the high ground expansion. This refinery is basically just offline, and this Yari mini-sub will just suicide itself when it can't get any more damage done, and that is just a giant chunk of health out of that MCV. 2 tsunami tanks are here with the tank busters. This is going to be difficult to break unless it all gets frozen by a cryo shot, and it looks like it will get frozen by the cryo shot, but the assault destroyer is keeping its main gun active, which means black hole armor does not extend the life, and Edvin is breaking GreenAlert here on Battle Base Beta. The comeback feels alive as GreenAlert loses one of his main base refineries, goes into low power mode, and this MCV is in desperate need of repairs, but that is going to cost GreenAlert time and money that he doesn't really have. Command Hub does deploy for that build radius, and the tsunami tanks are here to help beef up this army. 3 tsunami tanks give this army so much more staying power than it otherwise would, and we actually have Naginata cruisers as well. 4th refinery coming up for Edvin. He has knocked down 2 refineries of his opponent. He has stopped stopped the high ground expansion, and he has harassed that MCV into a scared state of existence. The result, it has to be a cryocopter. This has to be, I think this is a panic cryocopter from GreenAlert. He sells, no, he actually went Apollo. I cannot believe that is not a panic cryocopter from GreenAlert. What is his plan here? Apollo to deal with anything in the air in case there are strikers, and he is just going to go all out. Panic cryocopter now? It will finish before the tsunamis actually get the kill on the airfield. It is going to be a cryocopter. Okay, this is actually a really powerful combination. There isn't going to be a way to quickly and easily refuel that Apollo, so the MCV will get shrunk down. Naginata shows up. This is kind of too many targets for this one cryocopter to deal with, but the MCV can escape onto land away from the cruiser, and it will be able to escape up past that multi-gunner turret. The cryocopter slowly freezing down those units. The harvester goes down. The refinery is now under threat. And Edvin, he's got a little bit of cash on hand. Cryoshot is here as well. It's freezing the MCV almost as much as it's freezing the units. And Edvin lets the Naginata take it, but it actually doesn't freeze. So it's going to be too many units for this cryocopter to freeze because there is nothing here to actually kill them. He desperately needs anything to stop these units, and it's 4 tsunami tanks plus tank busters on the other end. Defender VX is helping to lock down this area. Edvin sewing this one up barely. He gets a power plant online, and there is going to be the freeze that he was looking for. GreenAlert will be able to shut down this attack. He will be able to save his MCV, but for how much longer? Everything on the other side of the map goes down, and the GG comes in. Edvin puts a point on the board. The comeback is real. Hope is alive for the red player. And this is where the rubber meets the road for both of these players. In the north, still one game away from victory and moving on to the next round. This is GreenAlert. And just starting his comeback with the momentum, this is Edvin. Playing that red Soviets. This is not normally a good tournament matchup, but the fact that we are rotating factions, we've got the original 7 maps that we're playing on, the original map pool from the launch of the game, and the rotating factions just kind of make this one a little bit of a almost an anyone's game kind of situation. This is not GreenAlert playing his best Soviets. This is not Edvin playing his best Empire. Instead, it is the reverse. Edvin's going to try and hack it as Soviets. GreenAlert is going to try and hack it as Empire. And, well, this bear... Oh, my gosh. That bear got the engineer! GreenAlert just wasn't paying attention there. And unfortunately for GreenAlert, he loses another engineer. There is something about GreenAlert and engineers, just like on the Fire Island game, where he kept trying to capture that oil derrick, and he just couldn't manage to do it. Finally, the oil derrick does get captured. GreenAlert gets that bit of a cash back boost, and he moves this MCV into a very forward position, but he also just then deploys his mecha bay way back in his main base like normal. So that's pretty typical. He does have that mecha bay there for in case any terror drones sneak in, but unbeknownst to him, Edvin has gone for a super delayed war factory. This is a war factory after third refinery. Very, very passive from Edvin. If GreenAlert had brought any aggression in the early game, that would have completely gutted Edvin. He would have had virtually nothing there. He didn't go for like some big flak opening like we will sometimes see from the Chinese players, and instead, I mean, he just went for greed. He is going to potentially pay the price here. I do love the reactor kind of body blocking this defender core, meaning it can't just start shooting the sentry gun right away. Hopefully walls or something else comes up to help block it off from killing off this harvester, but for the current moment, the sentry gun is now going to be able to chip away at these units, and the defender core will clean up that sentry gun without too much trouble. That's why that reactor is there to body block. Defenders do pretty decent damage versus buildings, and well, that conscript gets cleared out of the building. Super reactor is now online. Terror drone is here. No sickles, So I kind of would have expected to see some sickles. However, there are none coming out. I love the 3 conscripts going for that oil derrick with the Molotov cocktail. Edvin actually shutting down the oil derricks on both fronts. He's denying the capture by GreenAlert over here, and he's killing GreenAlert's oil derrick over there, but he's losing his refinery. And without hammer tanks, sheesh, this hammer tank is so late. He really needs 2 hammer tanks at this point, considering how little health. No, don't shoot the building! Don't waste your time shooting the building. Okay, well, I'm not sure that this refinery can be saved, but no, the Tesla coil is in range. He actually is in range of that striker. I thought the striker was just outside of that Tesla coil range, but it is. So he is actually able to quickly break that striker. Very nicely done there by Edvin. And again, just locking down these 2 locations at once. He does eventually lose the dog, and that engineer going for a little bit of a dance break as he waits to capture that oil derrick. And now GreenAlert does hold both of the oil derricks, somewhat annoyingly for Edvin. Edvin has this very nice 3 refinery setup. We're going to be looking for him to get that 4th refinery on the high ground. And once he has the 4th refinery set up, he'll be in a really solid position as Soviets. If he had 3 refineries in both oil derricks, that would be pretty solid as well. But since he has no oil derricks, we're really looking for him to get that 4th refinery up and running. Harvester goes down, nicely killed by Edvin. Strikers are now out. Tier 2 has been upgraded for GreenAlert. And GreenAlert keeping his MCV, I guess, in the middle of the map. He is going for the wall swag delay here. Just trying to keep that hammer tank on the other side of the map in the somewhat annoying way of just building walls. Strikers into Tengu take down that twin blade. And now this hammer tank needs to get on out of there. This Tengu can target down that twin blade, but the MiG shows up, and bye-bye to that Tengu. Does get a decent chunk of damage down. Oh, no, don't give away the Tengus. Trades out 2 Tengus for that twin blade. Not great when you're on the back foot. I would want to play a little bit more conservatively in terms of making sure all of my units do survive. But GreenAlert, as long as he gets this refinery back online and keeps hold of these oil derricks, he will be able to stabilize. Trading away 2 Tengus is a decent chunk of his ground army right now. But as long as, you know, no attack comes in the next 2 minutes, he will be fine. Satellites, no toxins do get called in. Almost tags that Harvester. And I guess this works out for GreenAlert. He lost those units, but really Edvin doesn't have much to make anything happen with. Satellites will be... No, those are air units, not satellites crossing the minimap. They were in a perfect line, just like satellites. Oh, lucky day. Edvin catches the refinery. Edvin catches... Edvin catches the refinery core. Edvin is going to be kicking himself when he realizes what he lost the opportunity there. That actually would be worth trading a couple of twin blades to get the kill on that refinery core. Deny that 4th refinery from being established. I mean, at least 1 oil derrick does go down, so GreenAlert won't be 4 refineries, 2 oil derricks up, and that will be nice for GreenAlert. That will be nice for Edvin that GreenAlert doesn't have those two oil derricks. But he really needs to kill the other one. I do like chipping away at the power plants. If you can kill off 2 or 3 of the power plants, that can slow down the Empire build and just force them to focus on rebuilding their infrastructure rather than building units. But I am worried about when the fight does happen, if Edvin will be able to keep up. Like having 1 hammer tank super far forward with no support. MiGs and Bullfrogs are both on this map and nothing is around here, so the hammer tank just goes down. And that hammer tank, in theory, would have been a pretty strong anchor for Edvin's army. But in this case, it just kind of is nothing. MiGs are here. Crusher Crane was canceled, it looks like. And, okay, so the Crusher Crane is going to be on the front line instead, so it can provide the repairs to those vehicles. Strikers, it looks like, are going to be taking down the bridges, so he doesn't want to get chased across the bridges or leave those as open attack routes for Edvin. GreenAlert could then pretty easily cross the gap, and even though he only has 2 strikers, he can put a decent amount of damage onto the Harvester or the Refinery, whichever one he chooses, as long as he chooses something. Strikers do go for the transform. The MiG gets eliminated. The Bullfrogs are here, but the Tengus can, of course, escape, and the Strikers just have to wait outside of the range of those flak cannons. There's the Twin Blades. They go down. The MiGs will be next, and the Air Forces of Edvin get eviscerated by GreenAlert. He slices, he dices, he finds all the pieces, and he throws them in the garbage. He gets the transform, and he will be able to escape. That was a perfect execution by GreenAlert. Now, it feels like he is leaving nothing to chance. Goes up to tier 3 as well. He's got his mainframe core on the way. He did not push that advantage. He got the kills that he was looking for. He didn't try and stick around and end the game right there. Instead, he went back to base for those repairs. 1 Twin Blade. Not good to catch 1 Twin Blade out, just doing nothing. He will go for the force drop of that Twin Blade. You give it a command to load something, and it will just drop to the ground, and then it's out of range of the Tengu. And then as long as the Tengu is gone, you can just go back into the sky. You can cancel the load command, and yeah, you're back in business with that Twin Blade. That Imperial Warrior will finally get cleaned up. That guy has been sitting there for a long time. And once again, GreenAlert playing this one out like very, very casually, very gentleman-like. He's not just trying to end the game as quickly as possible and like embarrass Edvin or anything. Edvin is getting a fair shake of this. Edvin was not ready for this, so he is not getting a fair shake of that. Toxins will come in. He catches a good chunk of those tank busters, and it was just too juicy of a target to resist. GreenAlert goes for the kill and ends up paying a pretty heavy infantry price, but this is a delay tactic. Edvin is out of money. He can't finish the sentry guns. He can't finish a Tesla coil. Tengu's getting eliminated. Their wings getting clipped. 3 of them do survive the onslaught of the Bullfrogs, and it will be a barracks coming up on the front line. This is just to buy more time, and there is just not a whole lot behind it. As you can see, another barracks, another 2 barracks coming up. Edvin is just trying to buy time, and it is not enough. He needs something else on the ground here to hold the line. Either hammer tanks to go for the crush, or a whole lot more sentry guns to be able to try and hold this off. Refinery goes down. Twin Blade is in danger of getting eliminated. Tengus go for the transform. 1 of them goes down, but the rest of them will be trying to close in on this MCV, and they don't even care if they die. They just want to lock down that MCV. They get the kill, and GreenAlert overruns the front line of the Soviets, presses into the motherland, and he is here to wrench the knife and to end this game, end this series once and for all. GreenAlert is ready to go into the next round, and he's giving away Tengus. It doesn't even matter. That is very poor form to let all of those Tengus die, but it truly, truly doesn't matter. So he pushes on. He kills the war factory. There is no chance of rebuild. Even if GreenAlert loses this entire army, Edvin would have to have something else to be able to push across the map with, and it's not going to be these Twin Blades. He needs something in his army that can attack, and he just does not have very much. 2 Twin Blades, 4 Bullfrogs, and that is just about the only things that he will ever have. Everything else is dead in the water, so it is Twin Blades for the end of time. If he had 20 Twin Blades, then maybe he would be able to do something here. GreenAlert buying time with some walls. Again, if there were more Twin Blades and maybe more MiGs as well, maybe you could find something to do here. But he's gonna airlift the Bullfrogs over the wall. I do love that. Of course, the combination of Twin Blades and Bullfrogs is very strong. It's not necessarily going to beat an Empire player that is this well fed. He's going to get the barracks, so no more tank busters onto the front line, harassing his Bullfrogs, causing him problems. but there are 5, 6 Tengus that he is going to have to deal with. They've got point defense drones, and these twin blades may not be long for this world. They can't transform, so they just need to commit in and get the kill on the twin blades, and now they can get on out of there. 4 of the Tengus have survived. These bullfrogs ranking up quite nicely. They clean up 2 more of the Tengus. And still, once again, oh my gosh, a Psionic Decimator is actually just going to get cleaned up here. GreenAlert truly wasting his money, spends 2,500 just on a Psionic Decimator. And both of these bullfrogs are heroic. The Twin Blade doesn't go down. The Tengu has to transform, and the Twin Blade finally gets eliminated. So there is, once again, no ground attacking units on the side of Edvin. And 2 heroic Tengus show up. Psionic Decimator does indeed finish, and GreenAlert chases away those bullfrogs. Oh, he gets a Nanoswarm Hive as well. This is just a little bit silly from GreenAlert. He does have 5 refineries set up and harvesting, so his economy is very solid, but it, you know, it doesn't really matter. I don't think the game is going to be going on for another 5.5 minutes or even another 3 minutes. As the Nanoswarm Hive finishes, so does Edvin's tournament run. And that will do it for Edvin in this faction trial match event. Good night to Edvin and GreenAlert. We will see him versus the winner of the next match. And that second best of 7 will kick off here on Infinity Isle with, as you can see, is Soviets versus Empire. On the left side, playing the Empire, this is Yuno. And again, that is that player's name. On the right side, going for War Factory. First, this is the yellow. This is Darknage, a player that we have seen a couple of times before in the past. And I'm excited to see him here again today, given another shot at an event. We'll see what actually happens in this particular... Why was there an engineer there? That engineer got mis-rallied. He was supposed to be safely in this oil derrick a long, long time ago, and instead, he died. The engineer died. Now, this is one of those cases where Yuno is normally an allied player, playing Empire in this case. I believe Darknage is normally a Soviets player, so this is Darknage's best faction, I think. Again, I'm not super familiar with Darknage, but I believe this is his best faction. Unfortunately, he did open up with that engineer death. Always annoying when that happens, and he had already sold off his barracks at that point. And this is the suicide burst drone tactic. You go for the kill on something like a sickle just by using those burst drones to dive bomb. And you can also do that kind of thing. Oh, slightly mistimed it. You can kill other units by activating the burst drone's charge and then attaching it to a unit and unattaching it from that unit at just the right time. We've seen people knock down walls with them, that sort of thing. Tengus go for the transform, and, well, that flak trooper goes down. Yuno opening up very strong here in game number 1 with this Empire versus Soviets matchup. Third refinery should be coming up in short order for Yuno. In the meantime, it is going to be some harassment on the other side of the map. Yuno really crushing the economy of Darknage, forcing him to respond quite heavily, deploying, well, okay, he cancels that base defense, so no, never mind, but losing a ton of mining time on this ore collector, having to clear out this Tengu over here. Lots of annoying wall rebuilding, and once again, it has delayed his engineer capturing that oil derrick. Finally, the engineer gets it right around the 3.5 minute mark, which is not what we typically see for an oil derrick capture. Darknage is definitely off his game in match number 1 of this series. Walls coming up. Yuno looking to delay any impending pushes here. Terror drone trying to sneak around the wall. Not a good idea when the Mecha Bay is right there, but can use it to be annoying and just lock down those Tengus, stopping them from moving. Tengu's going for the harass. And yep, Tengu goes for the transform. Also sees the timing of the super reactor. The other Tengu does back off. He will transform and try and kill off that bullfrog. Once again, Yuno, very strong attacks here from Yuno. Very strong harassment coming in from him against Darknage. Transforms all three of the Tengus. Will be able to jump on that bullfrog. This harvester is taking damage. It's very slow, but it is taking that damage over time. The terror drone gets cleared out, but it does cost a Tengu for Yuno. And it's always nice to start off with a game win, and even better for Yuno if he wins here. He is going to be doing it with his off faction. Tengu survives. Two other Tengus will kind of body block for that first one. Ooh, taking a bit of a curious path. Takes a lot of extra damage on one of those Tengus. Almost goes down for it. Airfield is coming up. MCV repositions. I have to imagine he's not necessarily going for a push in the middle. Okay, he is just going for the low ground expansion. You deploy the naval yard down there, and then you can build the refinery off of that. But you need the naval yard first, basically to establish the build radius. Mecha Bay is up to tier 2. Yuno is looking very strong with this push down the middle. No hammer tanks. Airfield, but no hammer tanks. One hammer tank is out for Darknage, and this does not bode well for him. He can pull off some micro with this terror drone. He could potentially, you know, bring some fancy footwork and really shut this push down, but buying some time is nice. Twin Blade is out, so that Tengu will go down. The Honorable Discharge is going to splash damage that Ore Collector a little bit more as well. Yuno reforming the front line and going for the double harass at the same time. Ore Collector is back to work. This one as well. 3 refineries, 1 oil derrick versus 3 refineries, 1 oil derrick. MCV gets targeted. Bears are here as well. Those tank busters could be quickly eliminated if the bears manage to close the distance, and this is quite a few bears as well. Darknage has been given a lot of time to build up. Yuno posturing near the front of the base, backing off, then ramping up again, and then backing off a second time. It does mean that Darknage has had more than enough time to respond. The only thing that Darknage is really missing is more hammer tanks. But with the Twin Blades, he can potentially still outgun these tsunami tanks. Is he just going for the crush? He's just going all in with this. The MCV leading the charge. He's going to get 2 tsunami tanks almost for free. It's just for a little bit of the health of that MCV, and that is okay by the Darknage standards. Yuno, on the other hand, now going to be triple walling the middle of the map. This is not the Eminence wall swag build from the days of yore, but instead this is a panic wall swag, deploying lots of walls to delay that army. The only thing that Darknage doesn't have going for him now is it feels like he should have a 4th refinery by now. If he had a 4th refinery and he was bringing this pressure, things would be looking even better. Yuno sends off a lot of Tengus looking for that harass. This is going to be one of those things that is difficult for Darknage to respond to if he wants to keep up the pressure on the front door. And no, he does just back off. A lot of posturing from these two players. Twin Blade gets broken up over top of the base. Bullfrogs show up, and that adaptive armor is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the Soviet harvesters. Tesla Trooper gets dropped into this area. A little bit unfortunate for the Soviet player that he is not going to be able to get the harassment that he was hoping for. But who knows? Those Tesla Troopers can do some good damage. Well, not when they get instantly sniped by the Tengus. They don't do much damage once they're dead. Bullfrogs on the front line, Twin Blades as well. Darknage brings a teeny tiny bit of his army to the front line and leaves everything else back at home. And from here, Darknage, he does actually go for that 4th refinery, even sends his MCV all the way over there. He does not do it, you know, with a base crawl. He doesn't do it with a Sputnik. He just sends his MCV over there, and now he is headed back to the high ground. Darknage at this point probably just needs to go for tier 3. Get out a couple of V4s, you know, maybe 2 V4s, and then look at poking down that front, knocking down the Mecha Bay if he can. Either that or, I don't know, go double airfield to try and deal with these Tengus. Because the Tengus can be a problem, the Strikers as well. Bear gets dropped in. Not many games do you see a parachuting war bear deploying to the battlefield. Tsunami tanks will get tagged by that bear. They see each other as they pass by one another. And it will be hammer tanks, twin blades, probably some bullfrogs as well, trying to respond to this potential threat. Both players very happy to play this one out a little bit more cautiously. They built up. It looked like Yuno had an opportunity to strike and end the game, but that hasn't happened. Twin blades are going to try and jump on these tsunamis, get a little bit of cash back there, and the tsunamis being guarded by the strikers, the twin blades being guarded by those bullfrogs. Sort of a mutually assured destruction situation there. If the twin blades go for the kill, they will get eliminated. If the Tengus tried to respond, they would get eliminated. Harvester offline for just a moment there, but Darknage, he is up in eco over his opponent. Even though he was slower to the 3rd refinery, he was slower to the oil derrick, and so he has fewer resources gathered overall. His economy is now stronger than his opponent, and I was going to say that he has an opportunity to get a 5th refinery, but it's about to be shut down, so no opportunity for a 5th refinery now. He may try and preserve this build radius. Yeah, he's deploying another naval yard there to try and keep the build radius. And actually, this naval yard is much more advantageous in its position in terms of build radius. But Wanakula Sub sneaks on out. He will once again scout and confirm that there is no water expansion for the Empire player. And while Darknage is probably also going tier 3... Darknage, are you going tier 3? Darknage is not going tier 3, so Darknage has lost the artillery war in terms of who gets to artillery first. The answer is Yuno. He can start poking and prodding that front line, and we see the response from Darknage. Walls going up immediately. Reactor gets the build radius for that refinery, and the 5th refinery is coming up for Darknage because, hey, if you have a lot of money, it doesn't matter if you lose a couple of units here or there. MCV is going to have to pack up and head for the hills. Walls do get canceled there, and the army is going to funnel through. Tank busters are here. Strikers and King Oni's kind of body blocking for those tank busters behind them. An extremely awkward position for both players to be in. They find themselves in this weird spot, but it's going to be toxins getting dropped on top of this army, and it could be massive to the infantry. Only about 4 of the infantry going down, but those Wave Force artillery take some damage. They are all forced away, and Darknage has delayed the game once again. 4 hammer tanks, not great. Okay, 5 hammer tanks, not great, but the twin blades can make up for that. They don't kill King Oni's super fast, but as long as everything else gets dealt with, the twin blades will mop up the pieces that remain. Flat cannon here. Tengus overhead. These fights could go so many different ways depending on who engages from what angle. And for example, these Tengus, they could be absolutely massive to just use themselves for that honorable discharge and essentially bomb out their opponent by transforming on top of the army and then just dying one by one. We'll see how the fight actually happens, but the Wave Force artillery gives Yuno a lot of posture and position potential to do whatever he wants. Twin Blades do rush forward. Tengu's not fast enough to get the catch on them, and instead, one of the Wave Force artillery just dies right from the beginning. Twin Blades getting pushed back. MCV kind of getting separated out from the army, but there's only one Wave Force artillery, so it cannot quickly deal with that MCV. Natasha is now out. The snipes should be coming through, and first snipe will land on the Wave Force artillery, and it's going to be an MCV that gets taken down. A King Oni falls after that, and even one of these hammer tanks picks up the kill from the King Oni. Infantry can be dealt with very quickly by Natasha, and Darknage finding himself in an awkward situation, but so is Yuno. Twin Blades get scattered as the Tengus come through and cut up the skies. There is almost nothing left in the air for the Soviet player, but the ground army is still much more contested for both of these teams. Well, not so much anymore, as 3 of the hammer tanks just explode, and now it's APOC tanks heading to the front line. No more Natasha to snipe those tank busters quickly, and instead it will be Darknage who taps out as his APOC tanks get annihilated on the front lines, and Yuno who picks up the first win of this series, putting that point on the board, and that's not even his final form. That's not even his strongest faction. And that will take us to Fire Island. A promising prospect for our player in the north, playing the red, switching to allies. This is Yuno. A great map for allies. Yuno does not have a particularly hardcore turret pushing style, so it's not a super abusive map, but it's still a fine map for allies. Meanwhile, on the south side, going to Empire. This is Darknage. And now maybe someone in the comments lets me know that actually Darknage is like an Empire main, and so Soviets was the off faction. If so, then this should be the best match of them, because this is their primary factions. And if it happens in Game 2, then it means we'll get to see this again in Game 5, and then in Game 8, if this was a best of 8, but it's not. So it's a best of 7, which means if this is indeed their best faction matchup, which for Yuno it is, an allied player, and for Darknage, I'm not sure. One oiled air gets grabbed by the Empire player. The other one gets destroyed by the Javs of the Allied player. And it's going to be Riptide Javelin for Yuno. Sells off the Naval Yard after 2 Riptides. So very reasonably standard, but also the very economic version of this build. You get that Naval Yard, you keep it just barely long enough to get out the units, you sell it off immediately, and typically you do follow that up with an MCV move. It might be airfield before MCV move, and if you deploy the... oh, never mind, the airfield is already out. If you deploy the airfield there, then when you move your MCV down here, you still will be able to provide that tier 2 whenever you get that upgrade. Dojo gets broken down. Riptides are ready to go. And MCV now on the move. As always, this sneaky backside power plant, people need to get in the habit of killing that off. Allied players on Fire Island, they always put that power plant out there. And really, you just, at that moment where you're trying to attack and you're poking and prodding and you're just not finding anything, think about that Allied power plant and just go for it. It almost never has any units nearby. You can get the kill on it. And now that I've said that, someone's going to try it, and they're going to lose 14 units trying to get the kill there. Apollos do get jumped on. Tengus find the kill, and this is very, very bad for Yuno. That MCV move was apparently very poorly timed. He was not ready for all this aggression. Wow. Well, I was going to say maybe the writing was on the wall there, but that was a short one, and Yuno just got surprised there. Darknage was ready for that, and Yuno was not. Well, with that, we have now reset the map score. It is 1-1 for both of these players, switching to Soviets. This is Yuno. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, sticking with yellow and now playing allies. This is Darknage. Yuno gets surprised in game number 2, and the result is that Yuno's Yuno's Empire game was much better than Yuno's Allied game. And that is one of those things that that can happen. I'm not sure what happened there, if it was just like he didn't scout or what, but getting the drop on those Riptides and cleaning up that first Riptide quickly when you got 3 or 4 Tengus overhead, it does sort of spell death for that entire army. And the fact that Yuno didn't do a safer MCV placement where he could have gotten out that multi-gunner turret a bit quicker meant that it was just sort of over. You know, maybe there's some way to pull that one out from like a very, very difficult and awkward position, but yeah, I understand why Yuno left the game. I'm not sure what happened on the scouting side of things, where Yuno just did not know that that was coming his way, but the result is a very hard-fought game number 1 and a very quick and brutal game number 2. Naval expansion coming up from our allied player, going for that water. Soviet player going for the high ground, sticking it all on land. Terror drone is out. It was War Factory after the double refinery, so it is not a particularly fast War Factory. Yuno is not interested in super early aggression and super fast sickle harassment or anything like that. No terror drones to, like, you know, try and be as annoying as possible as early as possible. I do love the bear block. Always gotta love the bear block. For an allied player who did not go airfield opening, you have to kind of draft the multi-gunner turret. Riptide could also be sent out there, but a lot of times you want the multi-gunner turret anyways. Do you want to spend the $800 on it now instead of in 3 minutes? No, of course not. You'd rather keep that $800, get your refinery out faster. But in this case, the Riptides keep the pressure on the front line, and you get to clear out the bear with a multi-gunner turret, so it's not the end of the world for Darknage. It's just not ideal how he would probably prefer to play this one out. I do want to give props to Yuno, because look at this map presence, look at this map awareness. This terror drone going to be heading down the corner. I feel like 80-90% of the times an allied player will stick either an airfield or a naval yard near this refinery when they move the MCV out here like this, and they kind of set up shop. So this terror drone isn't really going to do anything, but you always have to go for that terror drone attempt. You don't want to leave an opportunity for the allied player to get this refinery and not be harassed. And in this case, the terror drone will get there and be disappointed, and, you know, what are you going to do? Darknage sends in a couple of Riptides. No sentry gun in the middle. Bullfrogs are out of position. I mean, they can't do anything anyways. Where's the other terror drone? There should be one terror drone or sickles. Okay, so he skipped the terror drone, the extra terror drone, and the sickles. Instead, he did go straight for that super reactor. He's got the hammer tank. If there's jabs inside of these Riptides, this could be trouble. No, apparently there aren't. There were 4 peacekeepers inside of a Riptide earlier, but I guess they did go somewhere else, or they jumped into a building, something like that. Riptides will escape out to the water, and Hammer Tank just pushes them away. A little bit of tagging on that ore collector, just touches it with some damage. Not a big deal for that ore collector. Naval Yard gets deployed. Akula subs will be on the menu now that the super reactor is done, and the Riptides going out to the water, they're actually going to have to turn around and just chase the bullfrogs, because one of them died trying to escape out to the water, and I guess this other one is just going to die on land, and bye-bye to that Riptide. Darknage is going to need a better plan for the next stage of this game. Yuno feels like he's got a very solid foot under him, got very solid stance for this game. He's well set up. Darknage is not necessarily in a bad position, but it just feels like Yuno has been able to get his feet back under him after that brutal previous game. And okay, Darknage goes for a very aggressive MCV placement. I do like the double expand. You go for the aggressive MCV placement in the middle of the map, and then you also get a potential 5th refinery there on the land. Riptides! Nicely done! Darknage had the perfect execution there, and now these bullfrogs just look silly. They're going to get tagged with a little bit of damage as they cross. That multi-gunner turret gets a couple of shots there, and a second Akula is going to be showing up. But I mean, Akula subs are not cheap. Vindicators are not cheap either, and the Riptides will go down, but trades it out for 2 Vindicators. You're going to be pretty happy with that if you are the Soviet player. Ultra Torpedoes? One of the Ultra Torpedoes going to be coming in. This Akula sub is down below half health already, and not ideal. Okay. And that's another one that just ends kind of out of nowhere. Yuno not feeling very good about that game. We're once again here on Cabana Republic for game number 4. On the left side, playing that red, playing Empire once again. This is Yuno. A couple of things going wrong in that last game, and Yuno just did not want to fight it out. And now, up 2-1 with a bit of momentum, this is Darknage. Once again, returning to Soviets. Last time he played Soviets, he indeed lost. And I mean, if he did lose here, that would be the perfect pattern. Yuno wins a game, then Darknage wins a game, Darknage wins a game, then Yuno wins a game. We'd have ourselves a very nice 2-2 map score. And the shot at the ace match of this series. A couple of dojos coming out. Cabana Republic can sometimes be an Empire-favored map, but of course, it does not stop Soviet players from winning here. For now, everything's looking pretty normal, pretty stock standard. This is quite a few units out of the barracks, and actually, this is quite a fast super reactor. No worries about a war factory, no worries about early sickles or early terror drones, nothing like that for this Soviet player. This will be spotted by Yuno, so Yuno knows that there is no early threat. Yuno knows about the middle of the map, so Yuno should be feeling pretty good about this game. Oil Derrick did get killed off, so that's kind of annoying for Yuno. The Empire player would have loved to be able to grab both of those Oil Derricks right at the beginning of the map, that little bit of that boost and that cash back. Instead, the Soviet player kills off one of them, and oh well, you can't win them all. The big scouting bear fiesta coming in here for Darknage. I'm not sure why he's scouting with 3 bears there, but he is going to get really good vision of that main base. Bullfrog is here, and the Flak Trooper gets the shots. Nicely done there by Darknage. Perfect defense of that Harvester. Hammer Tank is out. Now a Terror Drone after that. A very nice little combination of things, and the Terror Drone can stop the burst drone. Does kind of freeze it in place, which looks a little bit comical there, but now the burst drone goes back to that hammer tank, and I would think Darknage was hoping the Bullfrog would be able to kill off that burst drone. Tank Buster almost gets crushed there, but will survive. Second Tank Buster does get eliminated. Terror Drone will be able to escape, and he gets the kill on both of those extra Tank Busters. That is feeling fantastic for Darknage. That was perfect execution on that little moment there. He gets all of the kills that he is looking for. The Tengu and the Tank Busters. Really well done there by Darknage. That was the perfect outcome for this Soviet player there. Meanwhile, third refinery is nowhere to be seen. This feels like a pretty late third refinery from Yuno. We have seen lots of Empire players who exist on this 2 refinery Tengu spam. You get the kills that you need. This is a tier 2 dojo. That has to be a mistake. I don't know why, but that is a bit unfortunate. We do have some more Tengus harassing this Harvester. Finally, Darknage is taking some damage. Yuno getting some points on the board there as far as getting some wins in this particular game. And there, the barracks will go down. All of the walls get cleared up. And the third refinery of the Soviets has been delayed by probably 2 full minutes by that little tactic from our Empire player. At the same time, refinery gets deployed by the Empire player, and now Yuno is in a pretty solid position. The only thing that's kind of annoying for Yuno on the economy front is the loss of this oil derrick. Would have loved to have that when you're going for the Tengu spam, when you're adding on tier 2. It's nice to have the extra income from that oil derrick. Dojo gets deployed. Also nice to have a couple of extra units, a couple of tank busters, or even Imperial warriors just to mix in to your army. Harvester will be coming online and instantly harassed by this Tengu. They basically arrive at the same time. And Darknage, the annoyance is beginning here. Flak troopers maybe attacking that hammer tank a little bit longer than they actually needed to. Maybe a couple of those shots were personal shots and not actually professional. You can force fire on the hammer tank, your own unit, to kill off the burst drone, and then the hammer tank just heals up from the crane. But in this case, he forgot to give the stop command to those flak troopers, so they were just giving a couple of extra shots to their buddy, the hammer tank. A couple of flak troopers will be gunned down here. Nice body block attempt by by Darknage, and he does save one of the flak troopers with the wall. No, he doesn't. He almost saves that flak trooper with the wall, but he just doesn't manage to. Terror drone might be able to lock down one of these Tengus, and the other one will close the distance and get the kill on that terror drone. It was a good attempt by Darknage, but Yuno finally gets the better of that exchange, kills off that terror drone that has been annoying for much of this game. And Darknage and Yuno, they have both taken not a passive fate. They have not chosen a passive path in this game, but they certainly aren't going for the big army engagements. And oh, there was one too many conscripts. Oh, there were 3 too many conscripts in that building. Unfortunately for Yuno, 3 extra conscripts. Couple of tank busters, couple of Imperial warriors produced by Yuno, and the MCV actually going for the big money. Refineries 4 and 5 up here in the north. With a crane, you can take both of them at once, but Darknage is low on cash, so I don't know that I'd recommend going for both of them at once. Okay, he is. He's looking to zero out that bank account and keep it at 0, as he's got his airfield, he's got his war factory, he is ready to go. He wants to start putting some pressure on his opponent. Bullfrogs will clip the wings on 2 of those Tengus. A good start to that fight. Twin Blades are now here. Everything should just evacuate for this Soviet player. You do not want to sit around and fight Tengus and Strikers at the same time. You are not going to win that fight with those kind of numbers. Terror drone could get an infect. Nope. Runs away a little bit scared, definitely a little bit worried, but Darknage does get up this double expand in the north, so the longer he can hold on to that, the longer he can keep the fight away from those refineries in the north, the better it is for Darknage. And we actually see him just commit all of his army down to the south. I imagine part of the goal here is to drive this army of the Empire player far away from that expansion. And yeah, these terror drone, these Tengus, these Strikers are going to be moving down to that southern position. Both of the harvesters go down. This is now terrible for Yuno. Loses a power plant to the... Okay, he might not lose it to the terror drone. Almost loses the power plant to that terror drone. Will get it healed up, and we'll be able to deploy that quite nicely, but honestly loses a fully grown power plant down there anyways, so that is very unfortunate for Yuno. Yari mini sub not able to escape. Yuno losing out in a couple of moments there, and one Tengu goes down. A second Tengu so low on health, but he does survive. Yari Minisub goes down, Twin Blade goes down in the south, both of these players hitting back at each other. However, the Soviet player is in such a better position as far as economy goes. Both of these refineries are still offline. The harvesters just have not finished. There is so little money in the coffers of Yuno. He probably should have canceled whatever this is that's building and gotten these 2 harvesters finished a bit faster so he could get his economy back online. I mean, at the current moment, Darknage is up basically 5k per minute. And that income advantage is going to disappear over the course of the next couple of moments now that both of those harvesters are back online. But the army is here. Who cares about income advantage or disadvantage? You have to fight the army at some point or another. Tank busters on the front line here. Not a lot of bears, but the longer Darknage can delay this attack, the more bears that can come out. The trade-offs of trying to push forward with those tank busters mean that they are so much more vulnerable to the bears. The bears push in. 1 roar gets off. Only 2 of the tank busters get locked down. Hammer tanks trying to leech these weapons off of these Empire units and slowly chip away at those point defense drones. Toxins are going to get called in, and this is a lot of tank busters that are going to die. Almost every single tank buster goes down there. Only 2 of them survive the toxin rain of death, and Darknage pulled a stalemate out of the jaws of defeat there. That was almost a disaster for Darknage, and then it turns around. He gets out the bears that he needs, kills off a number of the tank busters, and then he draws the game out even longer. Yuno turns around completely. Tier 3 coming up for both players, but again, the economy is just so much stronger on the side of Darknage. It has been stronger for almost the entirety of this game, and the advantage is now like 12,000 credits of total resources gathered. The harassment has been focused more on the Yuno side of the map. The Empire player has not been the one who has been on the harassment path for much of this game. MCV could get targeted down running for those flak cannons. Double flak cannon over there, single flak cannon over here. It is tough to break these spots. Yuno probably could find an angle to attack one of these. Ooh, low power mode, perfect for the Empire to harass, but he doesn't have time because back at home, he's losing more harvesters. Yuno, so close to being able to find damage in these windows, and then he just doesn't manage to do it. Darknage pulls him off of that attack, and the Tengus get chopped up in the sky, blasted by those flaks of the bullfrogs. 2 of those Tengus are so close to death, but they don't even catch the bullfrogs. Yuno, again, so close to getting massive wins in these fights. If he had been able to get massive, if he had been able to find an angle over here and kill off one or both of these refineries, that would have been a huge win. If he had been able to catch all of those bullfrogs, that would have at least slowed down this twin frog combination, but he's not able to do either. And an Iron Curtain is coming up as well. Darknage, he may not have the best units out on the map, but in 3 minutes, he will have invincible units for that short time, and that is where those hammer tanks suddenly became so much more powerful, or those bullfrogs committed into the enemy's front line, just doing massive damage to all of the aircraft, and completely invulnerable at that moment. Wave Force Artillery heading to the front line. Yuno really needs a win here just to take the momentum back, to get the kill on Darknage and to even up the score. But after those very brief and brutal games, Yuno dropping 2 games in a row really needs the win here just for the mentality as much as anything. And Darknage going for both of the observation posts. A little bit silly here. You definitely don't need both. You don't even need one. But I mean, you know, map vision and map awareness, it's never a bad thing. It's never not worth something. I just don't know that it's worth 1,000 credits to get both of these observation posts. Natasha is out. Very useful unit when dealing with Empire artillery. The ability to snipe down those Wave Force artillery. Honestly, she might be able to kill both of these Imperial warriors and then laser down the ore refinery. So that would actually be really nice for Natasha. The Tengus have gotten wind of her, and they are going to be heading over there. So she will go down regardless. And yeah, even Darknage knows it. He says, just give me the cash back. I want the $500 for Natasha. MiG gets cleaned up here. Yuno posturing near the front. Another toxin drop is going to be coming in. It's behind the army, so it does kind of force the army either down south or it forces the army forward. You don't want to walk back into those toxins, and technically that wave force is in the toxins. Leech beams come out from those hammer tanks, and they are looking to steal those wave force abilities from those artillery. However, it is going to be Tengus moving in to try and save the day. The Kirov is here as well. Darknage bringing almost everything to the front line here, and the delay tactic is fine for Darknage. If he gets all of these units, that's even better for him. Toxins are starting to wear off. He almost runs his own units into those toxins. The wave force artillery does go down, and what? Yuno is not gonna try and fight that one out. Yuno just calls off the game and clocks out. Darknage heads into game number 5 with a 3-1 map score. And that brings us to Snowplow for our game number 5. Playing the Allies, this is Yuno. Meanwhile, in the south, playing this Empire. I almost said playing the Soviets, but no. It is on to Empire. This is Darknage. Darknage looking and feeling good. 2 short, crushing victories. And then that game number 4 on Cabana Republic. Yuno just not feeling the Empire victory the same way that he was on Infinity Isle. I mean, it was going to be a tough fight, but I'm surprised he did not try and win with that fight just by retreating and drawing it out a little bit longer. He had been playing from the back foot for most of that game, but you're going to have to try and turn it around, and he still had a decent chunk of army to try and turn it around, even if he wasn't going to be able to. And, oopsie, that Harvester switches back over to its gun mode. Darknage losing out on some income here. Refinery comes out. Darknage just losing out on 2 trips of ore at this point. Okay, Harvester comes back online. He builds some more walls, and that cues him to fix that Harvester. Yuno. Harvester under threat. Pulls it back. Refinery. Okay, there's the multi-gunner turret. And the Peacekeepers are here as well. So the refinery is now safe. Airfield here as well to give those repairs to that Harvester. Just slowly heal it up over time. And no more problems to worry about for that Harvester. Burst drone gets eliminated on the north side. No quick naval yard for some Riptides. It is going to be just pure aircraft for this allied player. Oil Derrick over here did get eliminated. Darknage controls the other one. And it is a pretty quick third refinery from both players. You know, sub 3 minutes on both of these refineries. Maybe even sub 2:30 for both of them. And, whoa. Okay, MCV actually pulls back. I kind of thought he was going to reposition over here to be able to maintain the build radius in the middle of the island. But Yuno actually pulls back pretty significantly. And we'll just kind of posture more in the middle of his base. A little bit more timid, a little bit less aggressive on the front line. And Darknage going for that Tengu style. It will be 3 refineries pumping up these Tengu numbers. So you do have the opportunity to go into Tier 2 pretty safely. We'll probably get 5 or 6 Tengus first. Could go for the transform over top of that Mecha Bay, but it would definitely be awkward for this fight. Transform doesn't come in, so okay, Darknage just loses a Tengu there, basically for nothing. Maybe he did a little bit of damage to the Apollos on exit, but really didn't matter. And the MCV is back on the front lines. I'm not sure what this MCV positioning is doing, but Tier 2 is now up, and Yuno has the Cryocopter, has a solid position here for game number 3. This MCV in the middle of the map is such a strong place for the allied player to be. And where did that MCV go for Darknage? It really is over here. He is just set up over there, and he is happy to exist there. Darknage will be losing at least 1 Harvester. Is the stop micro good? Indeed it is from Yuno. And, well, the Tengus are here. They will go for the transform. Apollos need to get on out of there. So do the rest of the units. 3 Apollos will be trading their lives. Nope, just 2. If the Tengus commit hard to the other side of the map, they might be able to get the Apollo. No, not with the multi-gunner turrets there. Oh, they get the Cryocopter! Not good for Yuno. Losing that first Cryocopter after only getting 1 Harvester with it. That is a really tough break for Yuno. Low power mode certainly doesn't help. Maybe just sell off the airfield. A bit of a mistake going for that airfield in that moment. The result will be the power plant comes up. The Imperial Warriors just jump inside of that building, and they're happy to continue this harassment as long as they can. Apollos go for the scout, and more Tengus on the south side of the map. They are ready and waiting. Naval Yard coming up, so the inevitable Yari mini-subs will be heading towards this allied base very soon. Multi-gunner turret deploys there. That is a very cautious multi-gunner turret to break down this building and then be able to shut down this bridge, but really doing nothing to deal with these units that are on the front line. It leaves that to the Vindicator. And yeah, this airfield has just taken so much damage. Yari mini-sub will be able to do a decent amount of damage and gets shrunk down, so we'll do less damage, but we'll still be able to find some poking and prodding. Imperial Warriors have finally been dealt with by Yuno, and that airfield has just taken so much damage. Naval Yard gets frozen down, and Vindicator should step on out to get the kill on. Oh, no, it unfroze, so okay, there we go. Does force the sell-off of that Naval Yard. Vindicator ranks up anyways, and now we're at 2 Cryocopters. Things are feeling much more comfortable for Yuno. A lot of Tengus, though. No tier 2 for Darknage. It is a pure Tengu game for Darknage, and that means that Yuno needs to make sure that he is engaging over the top of a couple of multi-gunner turrets. Yari mini-subs possibly just waiting until they go back to full size to go for like a double kamikaze there. Tengus do engage over top of these multi-gunner turrets, but it just doesn't matter. They clear the skies, and now there's nothing left to defend these Cryocopters. I thought those Apollos would do better in that fight versus those Tengus, but those point defense drones are just so good, and Yuno gets gutted. Right in the middle of the map, everything gets cleaned up. The airfields are eliminated. The refinery still stands, but there is almost no way to stop these Tengus from harassing these harvesters. And Yuno fights the Tengus and loses. I guess he needed a hydrofoil or some jabs. That second airfield was not a good choice, and Yuno's economy is about to crash into the ground. Okay, airfield now on land. Sells off one of the multi-gunner turrets. You just got to try something from this point. This is dreadful for Yuno, and there is that exposed power plant. It's out there in the back door on the water, and Darknage will be able to find some damage. Another Naval Yard coming in for Darknage, so he still wants to clear out that refinery. He's actually sending it backwards, so this could be a refinery and a Naval Yard back there at that backdoor water expansion. And yeah, the power plant gets cleaned up, and once again, Yuno is struggling with that low power mode. Has to sell off another multi-gunner turret. Airfield is back up. MCV in the middle of the map, but normally you have some Cryocopters to go with this. However, there are no Cryocopters surviving on this map, and yeah, Darknage at plus 5k per minute, Yuno at 3.4k per minute. Darknage playing out this game number 5 very well, and the consistent harassment, the perfect time to jump on those Apollos and those Cryocopters. It worked out really well for Darknage. And Yuno is going to try and potentially take a 4th refinery here and just say, you know what, even though I've lost these refineries, these harvesters back at home, I'm just going to try and do the allied thing of planting my MCV in the middle of the map, taking these refineries and multi-gunner turreting all up in your business. On the other hand, Darknage can just take all of the expansions that he wants, keep up the harassment, and just try to win that way. Strikers on the ground, 1 Tengu in the sky. Darknage doesn't have a lot of an army, but it almost feels like Yuno can't do anything, so as long as Darknage keeps these units on this side of the map, it's going to be difficult for Yuno to even do anything on the other side of the map. 1 Vindicator, no cryocopters is not very scary. Yeah, cryo shot can fire off, do some damage, but that is a 1 target kind of thing, and the tier 3 does now get spotted, so Yuno knows what he is up against. Cryo blast rather does fire off, gets that ore refinery. Apollos are over top, and Vindicator swoops in. Gets the kill. Okay, he does get the kill there. That certainly evens things up a little bit, but it's still not even Steven. Darknage still has that expansion out on the water, has the high ground refinery, and Yuno has not taken this 4th refinery yet. So all of the harassment plus the extra refineries, it does not even things up to kill 1 refinery of Darknage's. Tier 2 on that Mecha Bay. Darknage has been producing those tier 2 units for a little while. Loses, I think, a Tengu and a striker there. At least 1 striker goes down. The 2nd striker will be able to run away. This multi-gunner turret could probably be sold off. And Yuno goes for a 2nd airfield. Oh no, just repositions the airfield from back here to a bit closer to that MCV. Nanoswarm Hive and Psionic Decimator, definitely not good choices, but Darknage is looking for style points from here. So he went up to those 4 refineries plus the oil derrick, and he said, you know what? I think I can win this even by throwing away money, and it looks like he might even be right. Tsunami tanks harassing here at the front of this base. And do we have Shoguns? No, we don't even have tier 2 on that naval yard. I thought maybe he was going for Shoguns behind this so that he could control the waters as well. But nope, he's just going for the ground army. In 1 minute and 50 seconds, he will have that Nanoswarm Hive. You know, whatever you want to try and use that for. It's not a particularly useful ability, but we have seen some incredible uses of it in the past. It's just not the easiest to get value from. Vindicator goes down. There is almost no way to save this airfield. Apollos will swoop in. They fight the Tengus, and the Tengus win. The cryocopters will be the next target, and Yuno just has no answer to the forces of Darknage, and Darknage will take it here in game number 5, advances on to face GreenAlert in another best of 7. And that takes us to Infinity Isle for our pro final or preliminary final, featuring the GreenAlert. Playing allies, going airfield first, and on the left side, playing Soviets, playing yellow. This is Darknage. 1 refinery into a war factory. He is worried about those aircraft. We'll see what they are able to do. Oil derrick gets grabbed, so there was no lapse in judgment. There was no silly goofball moves or you accidentally lose your engineer. That's good. Flak cannon gets paused at 99%, the old classic Soviet trick, pausing that flak cannon, and then you do get to cancel it. You get the full refund if you cancel it once you get 2 or 3 bullfrogs out. And I love this scouting pattern as well by Darknage. Perfectly done here. Keeps an eye on that Vindicator, able to force that Vindicator away. Bullfrog tags both of those units, and you can probably cancel that flak cannon now. No cryocopter coming out, but it will be a quick 3rd refinery from GreenAlert. He is harassing the middle of the map while getting a naval yard in a bad position. Okay, so he is not taking a 3rd refinery because that naval yard is blocking the ore mine. So I guess GreenAlert has something else planned, and it is not expanding on the water. Eventually, he will, I guess, knock that down, sell it off, and replace it with something else. But for now, He's going to produce a couple of Riptides. This is almost what Empire players do when they barracks up an ore refinery and drop some walls there. But he's done it to himself. Vindicator gets caught. Second Vindicator getting tagged a little bit there, and the Bullfrogs placing themselves in between that Vindicator and his airfield. So Double Engineer will be able to capture this. Nope, the Vindicator still had bombs. So trade a Vindicator for an Engineer. The Soviet player isn't going to be happy about that, but he's not going to be that sad about it either. Flak Cannon does manage to get into that building, so this is actually really solid for Darknage. You almost couldn't ask for a better opening. If he had been able to get that oil derrick, it truly would have been a better opening, and maybe 2 flak troopers inside of that building. But getting both of those Vindicators right from the beginning, Harvester will stop in the middle so the Sickle can't actually jump inside, and the Riptides just wasting their time chasing that Sickle around. They will eventually kill it off, but once again, that means that everything is happening on the GreenAlert side of the map. Darknage buying so much time for himself. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Darknage didn't just focus down on that oil derrick, focus fire it with that flak trooper, and then try and kill it off before the engineer ever captures it. Airfield is here, still conspicuously empty. And okay, the naval yard will be sold off, and GreenAlert, I guess, is going to expand there. So that's a bit annoying for GreenAlert to have to sell off that naval yard, which he may have been planning to do anyways, but then he has to use a command hub to get the expansion instead of being able to expand for free while the MCV is there. It's not the end of the world, but just kind of a odd placement or an odd choice of all of those buildings. Ooh, Darknage. Sickle jumps down to the low ground. Very awkward indeed. I don't think you're normally supposed to do that. Riptide's doing a little bit of damage to those units on the high ground. And I guess Darknage will now go for his 4th refinery down on the water. It can create kind of an awkward triangle here between this high ground, this low ground water, and this front over here. You go for the attack, but then your opponent can also attack you from there. It's just kind of awkward getting that refinery when your opponent has that refinery out on the water. Couple of Riptides from GreenAlert going for the kill on that naval refinery, and then they're going to show up and be like, oh, well, there is no naval refinery. Oh, well. Multi-gunner turret will get jumped on, but trading it for a hammer tank, that's not the worst thing for the allied player. GreenAlert playing out this first game as allies. It does mean we might see, well, we will see allies again in game number 4, because this is a best of 7. But it does mean that potentially his best faction, Soviets, will be seen probably in game number 2, maybe game number 3, and then it won't be seen unless we get a game 5 or a game 6, depending on how things play out. Darknage, on the other hand, if this goes to the ace match, he will return to Soviets for that final game versus the allies of GreenAlert. Couple of Riptides here. Vindicator gets a kill on, I guess, a terror drone. Yeah, manages to get a kill on a terror drone. And that multi-gunner turret somehow survived. I can't believe Darknage let that go. Did not kill that off. Ultra Torpedo rushes off to the top right-hand corner of the map, but the Twin Blades will be able to finish off this Riptide, and then they need to get themselves some repairs back at that Crusher Crane. Riptide's pushing in. Riptides go for the freeze, go for the kill on that Harvester. So Darknage knows that he is going to have to barricade up this refinery. He is going to have to defend it from attacks. But the Sakula sub, of course, engaged with that army a little bit earlier, and he was able to survive. So now the Kula sub is ready to harass. And from this position, you honestly might just wait for the Ultra Torpedoes to recharge, kind of hope that your opponent forgets about it, go in, fire off the Ultra Torpedoes, see how many shots you get, and then wait for the Ultra Torpedoes to recharge. IFV is going to be able to chase away these twin blades. The oil derrick does survive. GreenAlert definitely cleaning up his game from the early parts of it, where he was making some mistakes, having a bad time, and the Vindicators are going to be able to jump on that Akula sub, so that went completely sideways for Darknage. Game number 1 turning into a quick succession of little victories for GreenAlert. Starting off with kind of a rough one, and now he's in a pretty solid position. For fresh Ultra Torpedoes fire off, but of course with the hydrofoil here, that weapons jammer is going to mean that Akula sub can do very little until those Ultra Torpedoes recharge. Twin Blade shows up. Hydrofoil needs to switch its guns over, and the Akula sub does manage to get a couple of shots off there. The shots that matters as well, but the Vindicators show up, and that Akula sub so low on health doesn't really manage to get very many shots off, and the Twin Blades will be able to chase away these Riptides. One of them should go down right there. He picks up the cash back as well. In the Akula subs, they've pushed back those Riptides, but I'm not sure that they're going to be able to keep the front moving forward. Like, I'm not sure that Akula sub can then cross the map and start harassing that expansion. GreenAlert and Darknage, very similar on economy. Both of them are at a very comfortable place. Technically, Darknage has harvested just a little bit more in total resources gathered, but that is not significant. And allies, kind of like, if you think about allies in terms of economy, it's almost like the reverse of Zerg in StarCraft, how Zerg tends to be one base ahead of their opponents. If their opponents have 3 base, Zerg wants to have 4 or 5. Allies generally can be more efficient with their units. They can generally exist on a smaller income. So this is a little bit like Protoss or a Terran being on equal number of bases with a Zerg. It's like, oh, that is bad for the Zerg production. That is bad for the Zerg economy if they are on an equal number of bases for an extended period of time versus Protoss or Terran. And this is kind of a similar situation here, where GreenAlert is on the same economy as his opponent, and that is maybe the new wall swag record. Who cares about economic theory or efficiency of units? That is efficiency of walls. Truly one of the greatest sights we have ever seen. And yeah, who even cares what else is going on in this game? That is mass Soviet walls, and I love the inclusion of the Iron Curtain here. Nice snipe on that oil derrick, but I love the inclusion of the Iron Curtain. 3 minutes to go until that Iron Curtain is ready to go. Iron Curtain and Chronosphere are 2 of the most functional buildings in the game. They have a pretty short timer, so you can use them a good number of times in a game. I mean, look at that. By the time we hit the 13-minute mark, that Iron Curtain will be ready to go. And, you know, defensively or offensively, even to snipe something like a Tanya or a big group of javelins, it can be fantastic in all of those cases. And, well, now it's up to Darknage to actually survive long enough to use it. GreenAlert is posturing out on the water. Navy is here and ready to go. Cryocopters are nearby. This is a lot of Riptides, far more Riptides and far more naval focused than we typically see in SVA on Infinity Isle. Normally it is more about air and ground armies. Toxins get deployed, and the army did back away. Ultra Torpedoes fire off. Black Hole Armor comes in, and the Riptide's going to be able to tear apart some of these Akula subs, but the Akulas retreat through the Toxins, and those Riptides have to turn and run. Ooh, that Ultra Torpedo almost was a complete miss, but the Black Hole Armor drew it in there right on the edge of its range. 4 MiGs, definitely a solid choice there for Darknage. The only real trouble is that the crane is out here providing repairs to the Navy, which is nice for the Navy, but it's not great for the aircraft. And then, of course, if you place the airfield up here, then you've got a very dense cluster of very high-value targets. So that's not necessarily great for planning purposes. And wow, we're actually going to see a Chronosphere as well. Again, 2 extremely functional buildings. They have a lot of great utility. Chronosphere being able to kill your opponent's units instantly, or being able to do some sneaky plays with Riptides and Tanyas or with Mirage tanks, just teleport it into your opponent's tech centers. No water expansion for you. GreenAlert putting way too much pressure on this area of the map, and he has the Athena cannon, so you can't really get this refinery location. The Athena cannon will just use it to rank up, and now that we are at tier 3, it kind of makes you wonder, you know, how long until this command hub is tier 3 and this seaport is producing aircraft carriers. That EMP can be so powerful. And we've got a Natasha out on the field. That snipe can come down to clear out an aircraft carrier if it gets too close. But, oh, this this Athena cannon going to be going for that MCV. Iron Curtain 5 seconds away. And GreenAlert would love to force his opponent to use the Iron Curtain to save that MCV. That would be an excellent waste of the Iron Curtain from the allied perspective. Meanwhile, Twin Blades and MiGs are on the south side of the map, looking for an opening, looking for an opportunity. I almost can't believe that we're 13, 14 minutes in, 13 and a quarter minutes in, and one of the oil derricks is still standing. The Twin Blades have not been able to kill that off. Iron Curtain is ready. It gets 2 of the Akula subs, and it will turn them invincible. The rest of them will just be targeting down as many units as they can before they die. But this is too much Navy from the allied player to be killed off entirely before those Akula subs come out of that Iron Curtain. Much of the allied Navy has been trashed, but it's not all gone. However, the Iron Curtain wears off just in time for the Twin Blades to show up, and Darknage completely smashes the allied Navy, gets everything there with the help of those Twin Blades. The Akula sub reinforcements seal the deal, and now this naval yard will be shutting down. No aircraft carriers for you. And this is a complete naval victory for Darknage. GreenAlert goes for the Proton Collider, goes for the Chronosphere, but he's got 20 seconds, and that is not going to be that timer is too long for this Akula sub attack. Dreadnought is here. Always a gamble to go Dreadnoughts against allies. They've got those cryocopters. You really have to defend those those Dreadnoughts well, or you need 10 Bullfrogs on the ground and 2 Dreadnoughts so that they have to split their targets. Toxins getting called in. 19 seconds on the clock for that Chronosphere. Many targets to potentially use that Chronosphere on, but it is low power mode for this allied player, and he's down a decent amount. He's probably going to need 2 power plants to really be safe on his power. 1 will bring him back online, but it doesn't give him a lot of headroom, depending on if he wants to re-expand. I guess he's probably not going to try and re-expand backwards. He might try and re-expand or expand down here on the low ground. First power plant is there. He's online, but not by much. MiGs are on Overwatch. Well, hey, if you lose this refinery, you'll have a lot more headroom for your power requirements. And yeah, Vindicators are going to commit into the attack. They get the Dreadnought, but they pay for it with their lives. The MiGs get the kills. And these Cryocopters, they can kind of keep these Dreadnoughts shrunk down forever. They just can't necessarily freeze them ever. They won't necessarily be able to stick around long enough to freeze them. But the Dreadnoughts, if you get 2 or 3 of them, you will be able to shell this base and keep that allied player from expanding. Akula sub spots this command hub basically immediately, and this is the heroic Akula sub, so he does massive damage. Chronosphere could take him onto the high ground, smash him into something, and end him, or the Chronosphere could just be used on a Dreadnought on the other side of the map. Gets used, and yep, I think it was a Dreadnought, yeah, onto the ground. Good night to that Dreadnought. Wow, those flashes were going crazy. And, well, the expansion does get eliminated, and might as well kill off that observation post. It has a lot of more health than you would think. Iron Curtain is ready 4 minutes and 10 seconds until that Proton Collider. GreenAlert happy to play this one out slow since he does have that Proton Collider. And yeah, you just can't take this expansion versus an allied player unless you have a way to deal with the Athena Cannons, and you just don't have a way to deal with the Athena Cannons. Cryogeddon going to be coming in on top of that Dreadnought, fires its shots, but it's against the Aegis shield, and that just absorbs and blocks those blows. Oh! That Naval Yard actually did not freeze. However, the Dreadnought did, and now it's at the bottom of the ocean. And just kill off the Naval Yard. Yeah, okay, never mind. They get sold off. Well, that's the same effect for the allied players as far as they're concerned. Iron Curtain is ready. APOC tanks on the front line. And yeah, you could go 4 or 5 APOC tanks, push them to the very front, Iron Curtain them, and then just try and walk in. You can magnetic harpoon the con yard, some of these other buildings that are on the front line, and while that Iron Curtain is keeping your APOC safe, you can just get a lot of damage done. Darknage versus GreenAlert in this kind of weird matchup where GreenAlert is playing allies. Turns out to be a pretty good macro game from these two players. It's definitely not super action-packed, and there are some mistakes coming in from these players, but they're both playing quite well, and the fact that GreenAlert is playing off faction is pretty impressive in its own right. He's going to have to manage this faction rotation just like Darknage is. Toxins will be getting called in, and this Mirage tank might go down. Aegis shield does pop, but it's going to protect against the Twin Blades, not against the Toxins. And that Mirage tank dies, unfortunately for GreenAlert. Apollos are going to swing down to the south side, looking to deal with those Twin Blades, but they have to be wary of the MiGs and the Bullfrogs. A very powerful combination, MiGs and Bullfrogs together. Walls, a super delay tactic. They've really put the pause on any kind of ground assault through the middle of the map. This is one of those Infinity Isle games where it is all about the water, it is all about the air. No one cares at all for the land in the middle. This raised strip of ground that connects the two bases, just no one is interested. We do see Kirovs, we do see a vacuum imploder as well, and the Chronosphere is ready, as is the Iron Curtain. Apollo is going to be able to jump on two of those Twin Blades. Trades it back for 1 Apollo. This late in the game, those kind of trades are not the end of the world one way or the other. And this heroic Akula sub just doing massive damage, kills another Harvester, just doing his job, making sure that this allied player never can expand out on the water. There is no safe expansion on the water for the allied player. Meanwhile, this expansion has been pretty darn safe for the Soviet player, down to only 10 grand left in that ore node. And as this game draws on, we are going to be in a situation where, oh, run for the hills, Akula! Run for the hills! Oh, okay, well, you can use the Ultra Torpedoes, but you can't do much more than that. Oh, wow. GreenAlert really wants to get the kill on this Akula sub. Cryogeddon fires off. We'll be able to lock down that Dreadnought, but not before he gets the kill on that refinery. And that does take some of the heat off of this Akula sub. Will allow it to survive for the moment. But that does mean one of these Riptides goes golden there as he kills off that Dreadnought. GreenAlert loses another refinery. He's going to try and take this expansion. The Akula sub moves back into position, but GreenAlert is tracking that. Would be nice to see the Apollos and the Bullfrogs, or rather the MiGs and the Bullfrogs, show up. They could take down these... Ooh, he's bringing the Kirov as well. So, I mean, the Bullfrogs really do need to lead the charge here because there's only 3 Riptides. And if the Riptides choose to full-on engage, but now there's a Spectrum Tower, so that does change things a bit. The Riptides don't need to fight the Bullfrogs because the Spectrum Tower will deal with them. Meanwhile, the MiGs jump on the Cryocopters, and it's going to be the Apollos that pull back as well as the MiGs. 2 Riptides survive, 2 Cryocopters survive, and the Kirov is ready to go. He's even going to turn on the Afterburner, ignite himself to get there faster, and the Apollos realize a little bit too late that they turned around at the wrong time, and this Kirov will be able to drop 1, maybe 2 bombs on this refinery. Maybe just enough. Yes, indeed, just enough, as GreenAlert will lose this refinery, and Darknage gets the cash back on it. So nicely done by Darknage. Gets the kill just right, gets the cash back as well, so that Kirov is partially paid for, and he's going to feel pretty good about that. Unfortunately for GreenAlert, he did not also get the kill on that command hub, but considering he has been shutting down the economy of GreenAlert, that's decent. He really needs a big win somewhere, and it's not going to be this Proton Collider, which slams into the naval yard, knocks down the Crusher Crane on the ground. It does some big, heavy damage to these Dreadnoughts. Iron Curtain was not called in to save these units. It was not fast enough to be able to save those from the Proton Collider, and Chronosphere is ready. Ooh, he could grab one. Dreadnoughts are probably too far away now. He could grab one of those Dreadnoughts and get the kill on it. Yep, there's the scanner sweep. He's looking for something to Chronosphere. Yeah, well, Dreadnought is holding still, so... I mean, the other thing that you could try and do is, like, 4 Mirage tanks right here to go for the Vacuum Imploder or the Iron Curtain. And it's like, maybe you get it, maybe you don't. It depends on a lot of factors, but if you get them, if you get one of them, you have a decent chance of getting the other one. And then beyond that, you probably won't get anything more than that, but maybe that's enough chaos that you can break open the front door or, like, kill off these Dreadnoughts or something, you know, while Darknage is responding. GreenAlert, though, I don't know that he ever went and got very many... Ooh, V4s out onto the water. All of them but one go down to the depths. And the Athena Cannon is actually going to get the kill on the last remaining V4. Oh, well. GreenAlert not able to end this. 45 seconds until the Vacuum Imploder is ready. Darknage repositioning those Dreadnoughts, hoping to knock down another refinery. Cryogeddon will fire off. An entire Cryogeddon on just a Dreadnought, not always a good choice there. Apollos show up, the MiGs are already in position. The Dreadnought right on the edge of range there of that Cryogeddon does not go down. No Bullfrogs on the ground, but it doesn't matter because there's just way too many MiGs. And the Cryocopter comes in, shrinks down to that Dreadnought, but the Twin Blades finally find their revenge. Magnetic Singularity draws all of these IFBs in, and the Aegis Shield will be popped. These Twin Blades looking for revenge for so many of these Soviet units. Darknage commits deep into enemy territory, calls down most of those Cryocopters and sends them crashing into the ground. Darknage once again looking for the kill on the infrastructure of GreenAlert. Another Apollo goes down. Then the Dreadnoughts will not be needed because the Vacuum Imploder crashes into the base of GreenAlert. Darknage gets the win here in game number 1. And that sends us to Battle Base Beta in the north, playing the green, playing the Empire. This is GreenAlert. Meanwhile, in the south, also playing Empire. Yep, we've got a mirror matchups on our hands. This is Darknage. Darknage, slow and steady, wins the race, but the Vacuum Imploder sure does help. That was a pretty close to perfect execution of like a 5-part plan there. Not that he was necessarily planning that out like super far in advance, but he kind of saw an opportunity and he just comboed a bunch of things one after the other. They all sort of worked out Toxin Drop on top with the Magnetic Singularity to pull everything in, Twin Blades in good numbers, and then that Vacuum Imploder to hit the base on the high ground to make sure that everything is taking damage at once. A really solid combo from Darknage, and not one that we see executed very often. A lot of times we see bits and pieces of that pulled off by different players, but not that well executed, everything landing at once. And once again, I don't think that Darknage was necessarily planning that out from like minutes in advance, but he saw the opportunity, he saw what was before him, and he was able to make it happen. Just like good instincts and good mechanics to be able to pull that off. But now we are into an Empire Mirror. Not what I was really expecting, but, you know, these guys can choose the factions in any order. There is no set rotation for them. And in this case, it means Game 2 is an Empire Mirror. And if we make it to a Game 5, that will also be an Empire Mirror. Sudden Transport with 4 or 5 tank busters inside of it. GreenAlert is going to have the potential of putting out some big damage, but that also has a big bullseye on it, and he's not even disguising it. He's leaving it as a Sudden Transport. I think it's been spotted twice now by Darknage. So GreenAlert says, I don't even care if you know about this. Also, High Ground Barracks from Darknage. Probably a couple of Imperial Warriors or a couple of tank busters to be able to knock down this oil derrick. Gives him the vision there as well. GreenAlert controls the middle of the map, so it's nice for Darknage to be able to have this position here on the high ground. And yeah, he will now be able to knock down that oil derrick, and I mean, GreenAlert could stop that. He could commit some units to kill it off, but I don't know that he really thinks that's going to be worth it. So there's kind of no easy way to stop that kill of the oil derrick, and yeah, it'll just fall. Darknage will get the kill on that, and he'll be feeling good with that little bit of an edge, killing off his opponent's oil derrick. Imperial Warriors just being sent blindly to the middle of the map. That is not an advantage for Darknage. But Darknage, he got the win with Soviets. Can he get the win with Empire versus GreenAlert? Tengus swarming the map for both players. And I mean, in an Empire Mirror, we do often see a timidness, a lack of wanting to go up to Tier 2. Both of these guys opening with slight variations on the same build. Tengu comes in, and GreenAlert committing quite a few Tengus to this engagement, and Darknage doesn't actually lose anything for it. This is actually perfect for Darknage. In the middle of the map, well, GreenAlert still controls the middle of the map, but Darknage losing or killing even more Tengus. It's not over, but it is feeling a little bit over. This is definitely Darknage's game to lose from this point. He has a huge Tengu advantage, and GreenAlert, I mean, he could still pull something off here. Darknage can still make some mistakes, but everything is pointed in the Darknage direction right now. Oil derrick will now be taken down. Here are those tank busters from earlier. They're going to make short work of that oil derrick. And again, not really much that Darknage can do about that, but it's GreenAlert doing the same thing to Darknage that Darknage did to him, just a little bit later. This Defender VX definitely can act as a bit of an anchor for GreenAlert's army, and it does mean that if Darknage engages over top of that, GreenAlert will have a definite advantage. Neither player comfortable enough to go for a third refinery anytime soon. Point defense drones will be online very soon for both players. And that's one of those things. In an Empire Mirror, if you sell off your MCV, you have to do so with the knowledge, oh, do not transform there. That would not be worth it for those Tengus. You have to sell off your MCV with the knowledge that it means your opponent will have point defense drones, and you will not. These two players so incredibly even on economy They are within a couple of dollars of each other in total resources gathered. $80 of difference between the two of them. There's the big transform, and Darknage goes for the building. He clears out the one on the right. He's going to be able to clear out the one on the left as well, and GreenAlert just says, I am going for it. He is crossing the map, and he is hoping to kind of get the surprise on Darknage. The MCV is on the move. He's going to try and go for the crush. If he gets the Mecha Bay, this could really turn this game around. The help of these tank busters to get the kill on that ore collector at the same time, and the Mecha Bay has not fallen, but it is so low on health. Darknage had an advantage, but he had just had that taken away. The Harvester survives, but let's see how many of these Tengus do manage to escape for GreenAlert, because, well, depending on how many Tengus survive, that kind of determines whether or not killing that war factory was worth it. Darknage, he can get out another war factory. It'll take a minute or two. GreenAlert just needs to keep things moving, but he's losing so many Tengus. He will finally kill off that Harvester, and Darknage doesn't have a lot of cash, but the one thing he does have is a lot of Tengus. He loses both refineries, but he kills every Tengu that was on the attack for GreenAlert. So I don't know where GreenAlert is going to be able to find the strength to fight this army, but he has got a lot of Tengus that he has to worry about. That War Factory kill was awesome, but when you trade it for all of your Tengus, it just can't be worth it anymore. 4 Tsunami tanks, again, maybe there's an angle here where the Tsunami tanks do manage to get a really good fight with the help of that Defender Corps and the repair drones, but this is going to be a pretty insane fight for GreenAlert to be able to take this. War Factory is not back up. Both of the Harvesters are back online, so we'll see what these Tsunami tanks can get. They're pretty deep on enemy territory, so they are going to be going down here. There's going to be the point defense drones coming in for both teams, and, well, that Tsunami tank will be able to escape, and always nice to escape with your life. Always nice to escape with your life. Tengu v Tengu, but it's 2 against 1, and that Defender Corps does not actually transform to start shooting air, and instead he will just stay focused on the ground. Both of the Harvesters should survive this, but they will be brought offline not nearly for long enough. That would actually worked out quite nicely for GreenAlert. Darknage just threw away two Tengus basically for nothing. War Factory does get deployed. This is a super long time that War Factory was offline. I actually almost can't believe how long it took for that Mecha Bay to be reproduced by Darknage. GreenAlert is here. He's got these 6 Tsunami tanks, and he needs to do a lot with them. A lot of walls, a lot of time bought by Darknage. He's now going to re-engage with his Tengus. He's going to lose a refinery. GreenAlert killed a... What? That was a misclick. GreenAlert just took this game back. Darknage loses a refinery. He was already down on economy, but now he is way down on economy and production, and Darknage transforms all of his Tengus and then just stands over top of his base for a good 30 seconds. If he wanted to cross the map, that's fine, but go across the map. Don't just wait back at home. And now the Tengus are here, and they are going to just try and end the game. They will get the full surround on that Defender. It's a long time for these Tsunami tanks to get back across the map, and they get the Defender, but they need to get a whole lot more than that. Harvester is off the line. MCV going for the crush, but you can't crush out on water. Oh, he tries to draw them up onto the ramp, but they do not get it. Point defense drones fall away, but that means they are ready to go again. Harvester takes a lot of damage. The other Harvester, it looks like, did get eliminated. Tengus now in the sky. No strikers, though, from GreenAlert. So Darknage cannot be attacked right now. And the striker is here for Darknage. GreenAlert does not have an answer for this. This is the one thing that Darknage does not have, because the Tengus, you're fine. You can deal with the Tengus when you've got the Tsunami tanks and Defender's advantage. Striker will get the Harvester, but the Chopper will get the Harvester, but the Striker on the ground will get the Chopper in response, and now Darknage just has to turn around. I cannot believe he didn't try and jump on that striker of GreenAlert, but GreenAlert holds off the attack. GreenAlert even has one Tengu over here on the north side. He's still got one surviving Tengu from the earlier part of the game. And both of these players just taking massive damage. Darknage with no oil derrick and with only one refinery. He just has no hope of getting that refinery back online quickly. It takes so long to get another refinery online. You're just sitting there waiting, feeling like a dope, and he had to produce, he had to research the upgrade for the Mecha Bay. He had to get that striker as well, and this might just be a base trade. They cross over each other. GreenAlert knows. Darknage flies directly over those buildings in the middle, and actually now Darknage knows as well. GreenAlert swings in with his choppers. He lands them on the ground, but now they will be left behind. And Darknage is trying to decide what he wants to do. The Tsunami Tanks don't want to leave those strikers unprotected. And more Tsunami Tanks back at home. Might need to add on a couple of strikers as well to be able to keep this base functioning. Tengus split into two groups. The one group of Tengus is not looking super fierce. Just 4 Tengus in the middle of the map, and Darknage has not found an angle to attack. He is lacking the confidence to engage anywhere, and the result is, because of how hampered his economy was for 2 or 3 minutes there, he has not had the confidence, I think because his production has been so low. If his production was normal, if he had 2 refineries and an oil derrick the whole time, he would have been a lot more comfortable to try things with these Tengus, but he is being so cautious with the Tengus. He's trying to conserve them, and that just means that nothing is getting done. GreenAlert has had the full length of time to be able to rebuild, rebank his units. He's built up quite a mass of units, and, well, that's an easy kill for Darknage. He does manage to land on that Tengu. No tricky double transform where your opponent transforms all of their units, and then you transform your one unit and manage to escape. And that honorable discharge took a decent chunk out of a lot of these point defense drones, so GreenAlert, he will have that potential advantage. Choppers land. Tengus. One Tengu goes down. The rest of them do manage to dodge all of those shots. MCV is still here for both players. Yeah, that point defense drone is just such a powerful upgrade. Such a powerful support power. This is a lot of Tsunami Tanks. It is going to be difficult to stop this. This is not like earlier where it was 3 or 4 Tsunami Tanks. This is a whole lot of firepower comboed with the strikers. Everything has point defense drones. And, well, the harassment on the other side of the map. I love the attempt here by Darknage. Splits off 2 Tengus to be able to buy some time. And he also gets a 3rd refinery out there on the water. Love that as well. I don't know that he's going to have enough time. He sort of needed maybe 2 or 3 more minutes to pass without anything happening for that refinery to really pay for itself. There's the big transform from the Tengus. The Tsunami Tanks can now try to engage everything. The choppers go down in the sky. Darknage has committed everything for this defense. He's still lost that refinery, but he holds on to the Mecha Bay. And GreenAlert has to activate a lot of the nano deflectors to get his Tsunami Tanks out of there. And on top of that, he still has a Tengu threatening him back at home. GreenAlert does still have his economy online, and he manages to save that harvester. This Tengu will take some damage, and then it will explode, leaving a mark on that refinery. Darknage, 3rd refinery kind of saving him here, giving him that opportunity to stay on 2 refineries as he loses that main base ref for the 2nd time. And GreenAlert just doing so much on the Darknage side of the map. And with 3 refineries, well, with 2 refineries, he still hasn't rebuilt this high ground refinery. Emperor's Rage does land here for GreenAlert, activates on top of all of those units. It's going to be Tsunami Tank v Tsunami Tank, but Emperor's Rage makes them so much more powerful. The strikers do not transform on the side of GreenAlert. He could have a lot more firepower there with the Tengus on the ground. but maybe it doesn't even matter. That Emperor's Rage is quite good, and the Tsunami tanks get eaten up one by one. GreenAlert finds the engagement angle, and now he is chipping away at that Mecha Bay. Walls coming in. Tengus will go for the transform. The Strikers are on the ground, and there's the Emperor's Rage. The catchback from Darknage. He needs to end this army right now. He saves the Mecha Bay once again, and he cleans up a big chunk of that army. On the other side of the map, there are 5 Tsunami tanks, 3 Strikers for GreenAlert. And still no third refinery from Darknage. He has a pretty serious numbers disadvantage once all of the reinforcements come together. That Emperor's Rage nearly saving him there, or narrowly saving him for the moment. Fully heroic Tsunami tank as well. Massive damage from that Tsunami tank. Tengus are here. Strikers on the ground. Tsunamis rolling up. Point defense drones are probably going to be wearing off pretty soon here for GreenAlert. And ooh, this Harvester out front. Not really going to do a whole lot out there. More walls coming in. These walls have been a crucial part of the defense for Darknage. GreenAlert, I don't think he ever actually scouted that refinery on the water, so he thinks Darknage has been doing this off of one refinery, which he should see the number of units and kind of get the idea that, like, that's not right. You've got too much stuff. Your defense is too strong for just one refinery, but it may be very briefly 3 refineries, as there is seemingly no way to defend this. GG gets called, and the Empire Mirror will end with GreenAlert putting a point on the board. 17-minute Empire Mirror, a tense game for the players. GreenAlert brings it back with a massive strike in the middle of that game. Comes through, kills off the refinery, kills off the war factory, and manages to bring the comeback in game number 2. And now we're on Fire Island for the tiebreaker match. We will not have a shutout here. It will not be a clean sweep from either one of these players. Playing the Allies in the north, this is Darknage. Meanwhile, on the south side, playing the Green Soviets, this is GreenAlert. Well, it is going to be Soviets versus Allies, which feels very classic here on Fire Island. GreenAlert is going to be very comfortable with his Soviet choice. And nice bomb splitting there. Not perfect, but good enough. And the flak cannon paused at 99%, as we see. MCV packs up immediately. That power plant is way, way out there, but no naval yard from this allied player, so no early riptides, nothing like that. And this flak cannon does get canceled there. Conscript into the middle of the map for that little bit of scouting. And, well, as long as you keep an eye on your opponent, you won't get surprised, unlike Yuno on this map. Bear off to the left side, trying to avoid those Vindicator bombs. And I guess that Vindicator wasted some time trying to hunt down that bear without ever actually getting the kill, but certainly not a big deal there. MCV drives backwards for just a moment. I think a bit of a misclick by GreenAlert, but he will now head for the middle position of the map. Power plant comes up. It's going to be the water expansion first, it seems like, for Darknage. Vindicators through the middle of the map. They could try and go for the bullfrogs. It's always a bit of a gamble because the angles can be weird. The angles can be the difference of getting a kill versus not, and losing 1 Vindicator versus losing 3 Vindicators. Barracks will come up. No engineers from Darknage, or from GreenAlert up to this point. So he is going to produce the barracks and then use that to get the engineer now that the Vindicators have gone back home. A little bit of pressure on this refinery. Bullfrogs are here as well, but the multi-gunner turret will push them away. Kills off one of the Bullfrogs. Always nice for the allied player to try and keep those Bullfrog numbers down. Terror Drone will get the lockdown on that Prospector, and Vindicators should be refueled now. They should be able to go back out on the fight, but they're going to have to be careful because, of course, we do have the Bullfrogs very close by, so they can't just run in there and go for some bombing runs. They are going to try and go for the Bullfrogs. They split their bombs well, and, well, unfortunately, one of the Bullfrogs survived with just barely any HP, so that means 2 of the Vindicators went down, but the attack does get pushed back. At the same time, GreenAlert does manage to take that 3rd refinery, and I don't know what this is. What is this with allied players? You're blocking off this water refinery. I feel like I have not seen that before today. I'm not sure what the deal is there, where you intentionally block off your own water expansion. It's almost like seat saves or dibs. You're just like, hey, I'm going to use this later. But, you know, I guess whatever. GreenAlert grabs the 2nd oil derrick, so he's got that 3rd refinery. He's got a pretty decent economic advantage over his opponent, but can he stop the multi-gunner turret push? One way that you can do it, about 40,000 conscripts. We'll see if he goes that route. No barracks just yet, but there is a barracks from the allied player. No multi-gunner turret deployed just yet, but it is done building, so it is ready to go down at a moment's notice. Vindicators are here as well. They will be able to drop their bombs on the ore refinery, and the oil derrick will get captured by the allied player. Darknage will be able to take that. Multi-gunner turret is here, but so is the hammer tank. First hammer tank is out. Second multi-gunner turret is out. And no, he actually goes more Bullfrogs. Okay, so GreenAlert actually got a 5th Bullfrog before his 2nd hammer tank. A little bit unusual. Oil derrick is now captured, and, well, GreenAlert just kind of gives up on this refinery. He could potentially break this, depending on how the hammer tanks are able to engage. Okay, so he's going to try and go for the bypass route. And he says, just give me the cash back, and I will see you in your base. Gets himself 500 bucks, and the Riptides are just going to have to make kind of an awkward choice here. Try and go for the main base of the Soviet player, or turn around and defend the main base of the Allied player. GreenAlert going for the throat. We actually saw this in his Chrono Clash matches, one of them versus Andre. He just decided, like, okay, if you're going to try and turret push me, well, I am going to just MCV push you. And he's got a super reactor, so he can go Tesla coils, and he is just going to go for it. The barracks does survive. The engineer does not, however. And now Darknage has this choice to make. Defend back at home, or just try and make the middle of the map your new home. And he says, I am going to make the middle of the map my new home. And GreenAlert can now, I guess, take over the old main base of Darknage. And of course, do not forget about this power plant out there. Darknage needs to clear that out. And yeah, he's gonna throw up an airfield in this base like he owns the place. And now Darknage has 2 oil derricks and 1 refinery, which is just enough of an economy to exist on and to survive on for the next minute or two. Peacekeeper comes to the front line with these Riptides, and GreenAlert can just go for the refineries in his opponent's main base. Naval Yard does sell off. Prospector going to choose a safe spot to deploy, hopefully not in range of the leech beam of those hammer tanks. Vindicators make breaking bases that much easier. The super reactor will eventually go down, but when it's just the Riptides shooting it, it takes so long to actually kill it off. Toxin's getting called down. He's going to suicide his bears if he sticks around there. And, well, the hammer tanks will deal with that oil derrick. And the super reactor actually survives for now. There is still Peacekeeper chipping away at it. Cryo shot doesn't catch anything. Bears are going to try and re-engage. Multi-gunner turret making this a difficult proposition for the Soviet player. And, well, it is 2 refineries for the Soviet players with an airfield. And I guess you just sell off the super reactor at this point. If it goes down, it will just detonate on your own buildings. Does some damage to the refinery, or the refinery gets killed off. Does some damage to the war factory, knocks down a bunch of the walls there. And bad situation there for GreenAlert. But he is now killing off the oil derricks of Darknage. He has 4 twin blades, which is nothing to laugh at. And this is a very awkward situation where the Soviet player currently has 3 refineries and the Allied player has 1. That stuff I said about the Allied player kind of being like the reverse of Zerg. Well, not to the tune of 3-1. It's not quite that big of a discrepancy, especially when the Allied player does not have cryocopters. If you have cryocopters, and you have enough time, you can very, very carefully just kind of piecemeal down your opponent's army. Second refinery comes up. The Bears were going for the body block there, but they did not manage to get it. However, this middle ground refinery may not be long for this world. Bullfrogs and hammer tanks, everyone is just posturing, trying to find that perfect angle for the engagement. Double multi-gunner turret, and he's just going to sell it off. Darknage is not even going to try and hold that position and defend it. He is just going to sell it off. And GreenAlert, he still has some build radius in his original main base. He still has that war factory. And on the other hand, Darknage is losing ground. He still has a decent amount. He still has a chance to take over the main base of GreenAlert, but everything is taking a very, very long time for Darknage. Crusher Crane does end up getting canceled. So does that super reactor. I think the Crusher Crane got killed off by those Vindicators, and that canceled the super reactor. But the refinery goes down, and Darknage, if he does not have a refinery complete... Oh, Darknage has 1,200 bucks. He needs to sell off both of these multi-gunner turrets because he cannot afford anything anyways. Javs do get jumped on, but so do the hammer tanks, and 2 of the Javs do survive that engagement. GreenAlert, though, is adding on a 3rd refinery. He can still sell off this war factory, sell off that reactor if he needs a little bit of a cash boost for his northern expedition. But Darknage is... if he sells off all of his multi-gunner turrets, I think he could get out a refinery because he had 1,200. So if he sells off 2 of the multi-gunner turrets, that gets him barely enough. But I wasn't paying attention to if he built anything. Okay, he gets that refinery, and now Darknage is technically back in the game, and the GG comes in. As I say that, he goes out. I was going to say something about he needs to delay this game by a long time, but he didn't delay it at all. He said, okay, I recognize I am dead here, and there's no way for me to fight this out. So that will be the end of game number 3. GreenAlert gets the advantage in this series. Game 4 takes us to Snowplow for an AVS in the north, playing the Green Allies. This is GreenAlert. And yes, that is the fastest airfield possible, right there at like 35 seconds into the game. Down here on the south side, this, playing the yellow, is Darknage. Having a great showing in game number 1, and honestly a pretty good showing in game number 2 and 3, despite the fact that he did lose those. He did play quite well in those games, just not well enough compared to GreenAlert. Bear comes in for the scout. Darknage will see everything that's going on. And of course, with this airfield first build, you're looking to do that early bit of damage. You're looking to shut down as much of your opponent's mobility as you can. But also, it gives you that opportunity to go quickly into cryocopters if you so choose. It does mean that there is no oil derrick capture anytime near in your future. And depending on whether or not your opponent is super fast on it, you might be able to kill all of your opponent's engineers. And in this case, pretty wisely, Darknage has decided to go for 0 engineers, and then he stuck his 1 engineer in this civ structure. So he got an engineer, but he kept it out of sight for a long time. But now it's out in the open. Uh-oh. This engineer desperately trying to avoid that Vindicator. He sees the shadow on the ground, and he knows the threat that looms overhead. This MCV could take some damage, but there's no buildings to hold down the middle of the map when the MCV is that far away. Multi-gunner turret coming in. GreenAlert, he gets a win there in game number 3, and he is hoping with his allies build, he is going to be able to get a win here in game number 4 as well. And the engineer has been spotted, has been eliminated. Unfortunately for Darknage, he did a good job of hiding the engineer. He did a good job of trying to play it safe, but it just didn't work out. And now GreenAlert has 3 refineries, and he has killed an engineer of his opponent. Multi-gunner turret does deploy. This is one of those key differences between this map, Snowplow, and Icebreaker, which is a map that we saw in Red Alert 3 Masters and also in Chrono Clash. We got to see that map quite a bit in Chrono Clash, and this is one of those big differences between how you play the map. Play Snowplow versus Icebreaker. They are both snow-themed small maps, but that middle of the map city makes such a difference and really stops the allied player from being able to do this kind of thing. GreenAlert does manage to grab one of the oil derricks. The second one is still uncaptured. Oh. Third refinery comes up, but another engineer gets sniped. And Darknage should finally be able to capture an oil derrick with that engineer over there. So he will at least get the cash back, but, well, GreenAlert has the same idea. And the engineer kills by themselves, they do not win or lose the game. They are not all that important, but it is demoralizing to lose that many engineers to don't cross the bridge. Uh-oh. Yep, he was waiting for that. Bye-bye to all of those units. That was a lot, and that is why you do not cross the bridge against an allied player with all those Vindicators. Darknage will get his first sort of win of this game. He is going to get an oil derrick capture, and that will be very nice for him. He will also get a 4th refinery pretty darn quick. Out here on the water, it's quite a ways away from the rest of his bases, but that's not the end of the world. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and oh, that flak trooper doesn't actually make it to the building, unfortunately, for Darknage. GreenAlert has just a fantastic opening here on this map. His engineer will show up, and he'll be like, ah, darn, I don't get the cash back. But, of course, he will take that away from Darknage. No longer an oil derrick advantage for the Soviet player, or just equal oil derricks, actually. No longer equal. It's now an advantage, once again, for GreenAlert, who has had an economic advantage, not much of this game, but he's got it now until that 4th refinery. Well, I guess the 4th refinery is actually already online, so Darknage is more comfortable with the eco. Yeah, I guess GreenAlert hasn't actually been able to harass the harvesters of Darknage very much. And Darknage goes for that barracks to get the cap on that oil derrick. Double barracks, even. Is he going to try and do an infantry push across the bridge? It wouldn't necessarily be a good idea, but if he does get across the bridge, it will... I mean, it could work. The barracks does get spotted, so dogs and bears will be sent over there to try and deal with that expansion. And the dog also going for this far refinery, so he will get the scout on that refinery. Dog gets sniped by those conscripts. Maybe the engineer got a shot in as well. GreenAlert takes that high ground expansion, so he will now even up those refinery numbers between the two. Oh! Not good. Just sell it off? We might just sell it off. Maybe he's going to call him. Yeah, just sell it off. That's rough. Darknage now no longer has support powers. Yeah, he called in those toxins. Boy, that's kind of a desperate toxin place. Not even on top of a harvester, but just near a harvester that is also getting repaired. So that is basically a waste of a toxin. Even dropping it on this building would have been a better use of the toxins, but he just tried to use it as fast as possible so that he could sell off that MCV, get as much value from the MCV as possible. And that was a tough break there for Darknage. Okay, his war factory is back there. Oh, he's just producing hammer tanks. He's going to exist on the crane. He got that crane a little while ago, so he will have that at the very least. And he's going to deploy a flak cannon as well. Mass cryocopter from GreenAlert. He is leaning into that allied style. And he sees the bullfrogs, he sees the MiGs, he sees the flak cannon, and he says, nope, not today. I am not going to fight that today. On the other side of the bridge, Darknage says, well, two can play at that game. You don't want the bridge to be here. I won't let the bridge be here either. Very consistent scouting bears. Oh! And that engineer, I guess, never actually got killed off. So GreenAlert catches it there on the north side of the map. And despite the fact that GreenAlert has held down the middle of the map for most of this game, he is kind of refusing to actually play through the middle of the map. So often we see allied players either turret push from this position, or they do this. Yeah, go up to tier 3, get Athena cannons, and start burning down the middle. Take this second refinery and force your opponent to respond to it, and then use your Athena cannons to poke and prod. Instead, it's a prospector coming out. GreenAlert is not playing this like a typical allied player. He is not playing this in a super try-hard, try-and-win kind of way. He's instead playing this one out a little bit happier. I do worry for Darknage if he chooses to not rebuild his MCV. I do worry about the, in the previous game, he had that game-winning combination of magnetic singularity, toxins, all of those things combined on Infinity Isle, and he was able to crush through with that. And he won't have those options. And that is an Akula sub on the south side of the map. 2 Akula subs, and now the naval yard has gone quiet. 6 cryocopters. If they get caught by bullfrogs or MiGs, that could be a lot of cash down the drain very, very quickly. But, okay, now we have Tier 3 Seaport, Tier 3 War Factory. We have the threat of aircraft carriers and of Athena cannons. You know, I don't know that you really need that multi-gunner turret, but I guess more power to you if you want the multi-gunner turret. GreenAlert, willing to play this one out very, very slow and steady. Gets the catch on that MCV and doesn't try and spin that into a win. Instead, ooh, double engineer. What is the double engineer for? Did he not realize that that oil derrick got killed off? It kind of feels like he doesn't realize that oil derrick is killed off, or he wants this observation post. I can't blame him. That is his build queue right now. Tier 3 is coming up for the Soviet player. It's a bit late compared to the Allies. And the reactors will be broken here on the front line. GreenAlert is ready to go. Those are not happy Christmas trees. Those are indeed Mirage tanks pushing forward. And the Akula sub kind of overshoots, but, he will be there. Second Akula sub turns in towards the middle of the map. His job is to deal with that aircraft carrier. And, well, we'll see what the main base of Darknage looks like in about 2 minutes. And GreenAlert just sells off that water expansion. He says, hey, I don't need it. I'll just go for the water expansion here, maybe. And don't engage when the cryocopters are overhead. Ultra torpedoes fire off, and that Akula sub will be able to escape. No catch by those cryocopters. And I love this, airlifting 2 hammer tanks to go for the attack. He will be able to shut down this expansion quite efficiently with the 2 twin blades and the 2 hammer tanks. And the MiGs do manage to pull away. They're looking for a different target somewhere else. Refinery traded for an Athena cannon there. and the tier 3 will now be eliminated. So anything that you were building is now gone. I don't know if he had a Kirov or a, you know, a V4 or something, but the map is getting awfully small if you are the Soviet player. When aircraft carriers are directly assaulting your base, it does not feel very good. But the aircraft carriers will be dealt with by these Kirovs, and this hammer tank twin blade combo is apparently, well, it's not much alive. The hammer tank side of them aren't, but the twin blades are still keeping the front line moving forward. Cryoblast splitting this army, but Natasha will clean up the infantry forces, forcing those Mirage tanks away as well. Harvester back online for GreenAlert back at home. And, yep, those actually are dogs out there. Those aren't two spies going through the water looking for a sneaky attack somewhere else. And I actually kind of can't believe those Akula subs were just able to cut down those aircraft carriers with no problem. This is a lot of cryocopters. They could go in and freeze that flak cannon before it kills them. Maybe one of those cryocopters would go down, but quite possibly none of them will go down. Yep, never mind. Cryocopter still has like 30% of its health. And this refinery is not going to be long for this world. The Tesla coil should just be sold off as well as that refinery. And, well, if you can crusher crane that harvester, you at least get a little bit of cash back on that. But nope, the allied player doesn't let you do that and even throws away a bomb by accident right there. And no cash back for the Soviets. And again, the map is getting awfully small for the Soviet player. Even using a Sputnik to expand down to the low ground because he just doesn't have anything. Riptide and Cryocopters, a very powerful combination. But the MiGs show up. One Cryo down, a second Cryocopter does go down. The MiGs are going to trade their lives, possibly all of them going down here as a third explodes, but the fourth will escape. And the Twin Blades re-engaging here on the north side of the map. GreenAlert getting pressured by Darknage, and Darknage finding every angle and every opportunity that is possible to get some damage out on the map. He could go for the MCV here. GreenAlert has totally missed this Kirov, and now his MCV takes massive, massive damage. It might even die if he does not control it correctly, and he does manage to escape, but just barely with that MCV. So low on health, those Twin Blades could try and dive in and go for the kill, and the Dreadnought will not be able to kill off that refinery, but he does some damage there as he crashes down, and the Twin Blades go down. Sputnik will be able to expand down to the low ground. Why not just throw up a reactor there and get the refinery into the correct position? MCV back up to full health, courtesy of an engineer heal from that barracks. Cryocopter does get the shrink on the Prospector and sends it forward to the front line. GreenAlert was in a fantastic position to end this game moments ago, and now he has taken a whole bunch of damage and it kind of reset the timer there. Darknage has not had enough time, I don't think, to actually build up his army yet. And okay, he's going for a second Sputnik. I really don't think you need a second Sputnik when you've got this stuff staring you down. I had kind of hoped that Darknage's ground army would be a bit more fearsome than 2 hammer tanks and 2 engineers. But that is what he has got. He has got 2 hammer tanks and he's got 2 engineers. Natasha inside of a building could do a lot of damage, but I do worry about Natasha versus all of these units. Cryogeddon will fire off. It's going to trap the hammer tanks on this side of the engagement. The Sputnik as well, and bye-bye to those hammer tanks. Natasha making short work of that infantry army, but, well, now the Mirage tank pops its shield, pops its Mirage zone, and will stop Natasha from attacking, and now Natasha has been outed, and she will be killed off. Bye-bye to Natasha. And now GreenAlert is back in the winning position once again, and this time I don't think he can be stopped by Darknage. 4 hammer tanks here on the front line. You would need an Iron Curtain with these units to be able to stop this army. Airfield gets sold off, barracks gets sold off, reactor gets sold off, and Darknage does not have much of a hope of holding this line. Airfield gets placed to try and body block for this War Factory. Hammer tanks on the front line. Mirage tanks are going to be able to cut them down, and Darknage hoping to pull off some kind of Uno reverse, but he is not going to be able to do it. The super reactor will be the next target. There is very little production here for the Soviet player. He is still in this game as he loses his last refinery, and there will be the GG as GreenAlert gets the win here in game number 4, putting himself up 3-1 in map score. I kind of forgot about this, but we are back to the Empire mirror matchup from Battle Base Beta, and that was a win for this guy on the right side. This is GreenAlert. Meanwhile, on the left side, plain yellow, he started out fantastic on Battle Base Beta. Maybe he can close it out here on Cabana Republic. This is Darknage. If he has that same great opening like he did on Cabana Republic, but he managed, or on Battle Base Beta, but he manages to actually close it, then that would put him at a 2-3 map score position. And from there, getting to the ace match feels a lot more doable. What is this build from? What is this build? Okay, well, this is going to be a short one way or the other. GreenAlert says, I am going all in. He's going to cross the map with a dock. He has 1 refinery, 1 oil derrick right now, and he's got a 2nd engineer, so he's hoping to either maintain his 1 oil derrick or he's hoping to go for both oil derricks. And this is an insurance power plant in the corner. This burst drone thinks that it is going to find an MCV crossing the map for some kind of bizarre base push. He sees no MCV in the basin. I don't know if he put it together with this extra engineer, but he is looking for the clues of exactly what is going on. And this is not typical, but Darknage just needs to hold this off for the next couple of minutes, and he will win this game because this all-in cannot last very long. Triple Tengu on the front line plus the MCV to body block and crush. This is more about distracting from the naval yard that is getting established, and I have to imagine it's going to be straight to tier 2 for this naval yard, like you go for the tsunami tanks and that is your plan. But I genuinely don't know what the hope is here for GreenAlert, and he's low power mode. Oopsie! You were supposed to get an extra power plant apparently, or you're not supposed to have this. I'm not exactly sure. Too many barracks, I guess. Now that he's only got 2 barracks, he's back online. But, so I guess with this all-in, you're only supposed to have 2 of the barracks at once. And then, yeah, this Defender kills off this power plant, and it also keeps your naval yard online. Decent number of tank busters here for GreenAlert. He really wants to keep at least 1 barracks online so that he can threaten both sides at once. And yeah, okay, it's a tier 2 docks. And he can now produce Sea Wings, and he can also get tsunami tanks. And yep, there's the tsunami tank. So it is now in its final form. Darknage just needs to hold off this attack, and he will be fine. There's the split coming out from both players. Tengu's going to be targeting down those tank busters, and a couple of the Tengus do go down, but the infantry have been dealt with by Darknage, so now he just needs to hold off these tsunami tanks. He has not gone tier 2 himself. If he had a striker, then this would sort of just be over, but in this case, he does have a little bit of trouble engaging with these tsunami tanks. No infantry are being produced. GreenAlert, of course, has very little income right now. Darknage did manage to secure both of the oil derricks, so I imagine with this build, it's a lot stronger if you have both of the oil derricks on your side. But if you kill off this mecha bay, that is a huge win for GreenAlert. He could end this game right here, right now, if he kills off that mecha bay. Instead, the tsunami tanks take a decent amount of damage. They don't quite pull back. Third tsunami tank is now here on the front line. The control is going to have to be pretty close to perfect for GreenAlert here. There's the transform by Darknage, then a second transform, and there's the striker. This is now going to be very difficult to attack for GreenAlert. Not impossible. Darknage needs to shut down this barracks, though. He needs to just, like, send 1 Tengu over there to kill off that barracks. And, well, no, never mind. But these tsunami tanks now can't do anything. Until you clear out those chopper VXs, the tsunami tanks can't do anything. He's chipping away at that mecha bay. One Tsunami Tank steps out for Darknage, and, well, Darknage has actually committed all of his Tengus to the other side of the map, so he's going to have to make this defense work with what he's got. But, of course, he can rebuild that War Factory. It will be costly, but he can do it. There's the Transform. That Striker saves itself, and it will block that Tsunami Tank from attacking that War Factory. The Tsunami Tank's so close to getting the kill. He goes heroic there, and he activates that Nano Deflector to try and save himself. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the Tengus get the kill on the stuff that matters, and GreenAlert really can't afford to reproduce that Harvester. He switches the Sea-Wing into Sky mode, and he's going after those Tsunami Tanks, but of course now the Mecha Bay is going to be placed in a much safer spot. Tsunami Tank fully heroic here. One of these players does have a clock on them, and there it is, the point defense drones. GreenAlert cannot answer that, and Darknage just commits his Tsunami Tanks in for the attack. He has that extra armor buff, and he says, I don't care if you've got the better tanks because one of them is heroic. I've got the numbers. I have that point defense drone advantage. And he gets the Striker. He gets that Defender VX. He gets the heroic Tsunami Tank as well. And yeah, GreenAlert has just cut his losses, but now he is truly out of money. He's got $2 left, and I guess you just sell off this power plant back on the other side of the map and try and finish whatever unit that is, because this is truly the end of the line here for GreenAlert. I love the ultra-aggressive attempt, but it is not going to work here unless Darknage totally fumbles this, but the Empire Mirror will not go to GreenAlert the second time. It will be Darknage who gets the win and puts a second point on the board, sending us into game number 6. And game 6 will be on Industrial Strength in the north, playing the yellow. This is Darknage. There's that airfield right at the 30-second mark for the Allies. And on the south side, this is GreenAlert. Playing Soviets, and I know for a fact he does not like this matchup on this map, but, well, he will have a decent amount of experience dealing with allies on this map, so we shall see how he does. Airfield first, super common by the allied player. It will be a double barracks from GreenAlert, and he is delaying his refinery by a little bit, going for that second barracks, but really not by very much. And of course, it does give him a lot of map presence and map awareness, and actually, he did get both of the oil derricks. I thought he was just going to be going for the one oil derrick, but no, he actually does manage to get both oil derricks, so very nicely done there by GreenAlert. Locking down both of those barracks. Gets a flak cannon as well. We'll probably pause that one at 99% right at the last second, and then hope that he can just cancel it and get all of his cash back. Nope, he lets it finish. So he does, either through not paying attention or through intention, does get that flak cannon to safeguard the front line. There is also a garage in the middle of the map that sometimes is very important, but is more valuable to the Soviet player because it gives those repairs everywhere on the map without needing a crusher crane to have that repair zone. So it is super valuable for the Soviet player. Darknage needs to win 2 games in a row. But now that he's got that 3-2 map score, rather that 2-3 map score, it feels a lot more doable than some of the other players who have been down 1-3 and not looking as competitive. Darknage has looked competitive in basically all of his games versus GreenAlert. And GreenAlert has this big infantry push, so Darknage will need to deflect this. Barracks is here. He could start producing a couple of dogs. He doesn't necessarily want the dogs for the like immediate future. Ooh, triple bear will lock down that barracks. Fortunately, the dog manages to get off 1 bark, which is what you need, and that breaks that front line attack from the Soviet player. Walls will buy a lot of time, and Darknage needs time as the the conscripts and the flak troopers push forward. They get close, but they don't quite close the distance with that refinery. Darknage pushing a lot of infantry across the map. He's spent quite a bit on this attack, and he is hoping to get this refinery. If he doesn't, it is a lot spent for a little, but he gets the refinery. He gets the cash back as well. So he loses some units, but he kills what he came for. He gets paid for it as well, and he establishes his own third refinery behind this. Even though he lost one of the oil derricks, he still has the other one, and Darknage is now playing quite heavily from the back foot. He does still have a fine shot with this game. I think it will require playing a bit defensive, playing very carefully with some cryocopters, and making sure that you never lose an engagement. In this case, almost lost the engagement by losing 2 Vindicators, but he does come out okay, only losing one of the Vindicators there. You know, from this situation, you really don't want to lose any of the Vindicators, but at least he didn't lose 2, and he will have the potential of a double expand. He rebuilt that refinery pretty much right away. I don't know where this engineer is going to go. I guess out on the water. Okay, yeah, and then he's going to do the thing where you loop back in from the water to be a little bit sneaky. Vindicator goes down. That is not what Darknage needs here in game number 6. We want to go to an ace match, and losing your Vindicators is not a good way to go to the ace match. Double refinery is going to be coming up for GreenAlert, and he can certainly afford this expansion faster than Darknage can. Darknage sitting reasonably comfortable with those 3 refineries. Might soon have a 4th refinery, but we'll see if he's able to actually keep all of his refineries online as this Twin Blade moves into position. Cryo shot will fire off. All of the flaks will be able to avoid it, but the engineer goes down. Once again, nicely done with the cash back there. The MiGs commit heavy into enemy territory, and they get the Vindicator as he's landing. As he's going down to the deck, he gets clipped. And that is unfortunate timing. Barely too slow. Truly just a part of a second difference for that Vindicator surviving versus dying. And the bear kills off the engineer, I'm going to guess, because Darknage did not get that oil derrick. And that's 3 flak troopers that just died for basically no reason. And Darknage, well, he's going to need some truly amazing play to pull this one back after losing his entire Air Force, after losing that refinery early on, having no ground army. He is going to need some truly amazing play. Oh, is he going to lose the Apollos again? Ugh, these Twin Blades just seem impossible to kill for Darknage. And he's got this multi-gunner turret out here because he was wanting to expand there, but his expansion still isn't up and running, and on top of that, the 5th refinery is coming in here momentarily for GreenAlert. Apollos are going to try and re-engage with these MiGs, but the MiGs are happy to trade out with these Apollos and to keep that Air Force doing nothing for Darknage. Oil derrick finally goes down, but that is a very small consolation prize for this allied player. And Darknage here with his event life on the line is going to have to play out of his mind to turn this around. GreenAlert hasn't even taken the garage. He hasn't even gone big with a ground army. Well, it looks like he's going for the garage now. Going for the Crusher Crane as well. Does he even have a War Factory? I didn't quite clock that GreenAlert didn't even build a War Factory. He skipped the War Factory, and he's trying to, I guess, go for a battle bunker on the high ground. Yep, there's the battle bunker coming up. And, well, now that the garage is here, GreenAlert is now ready to actually build vehicles. A Kula sub heading across the map, so this expansion is not going to be long for this world. Darknage has had a good run here, but it is going to be very tough to come back from this game. He will be able to break this bunker on the high ground. Again, consolation prizes here for Darknage. These are not the victories that he needs to actually set himself on the path to victory in this game. Battle Lab before War Factory. I think indeed this is Battle Lab before War Factory. He has the garage, and he doesn't have any vehicles that actually get repaired by the garage. And this engineer is now going to just head down to the low ground and, I don't know, I guess capture this observation post or something. There really isn't much for that extra engineer to do after the battle bunker got broken. But Darknage does actually manage to get these 2 refineries up and running. Three Akula subs are going to be sharking around the map, headed for that expansion. He knows it's there. He knows it's the target, but it's just taking him a little bit longer to get there than he would have liked. MiG's going to be closing in on those Apollos, but the Apollos get a massive kill on the Twin Blades. Again, it's not the game-winning move, but it feels like, okay, now we're making some steps in the right direction. If Darknage manages to hold on to these 2 refineries out here, then he will really be in a solid spot. And he is going to be able to kill another Twin Blade, trades another couple of MiGs for 1 Apollo. You'll take that trade as the allied player in this situation, but it's a Tesla coil push on the high ground. And just when Darknage had the opportunity to turn things around, Akula subs show up at his expansion. A Tesla coil shows up in his main base, and Darknage will GG, tap out of the game, and that will do it. GreenAlert will advance into the grand finals versus Dutch Army. And that will send us to the finals of the faction trial match event. Kicking it off with a random mirror, which will land our red player as the Empire in the north. This is Dutch Army waiting here in the finals for the challenger. Also getting Empire. This is GreenAlert. GreenAlert rising through the ranks, defeating Edvin, defeating Darknage, and now he will be here to face Dutch Army. And faction trial match, anything can happen here. Dutch Army will be getting that Southern Oil Derrick nice and early. As I said, this is random v random, which means they're kicking off with a mirror matchup, and this is a best of 7, so we will see this mirror matchup again in game number 4. But it also kind of means that it may potentially disrupt our next 2 matches, and I assume it'll be AVS for the next 2 matches. We'll just kind of switch off which player is going for allies and which player is going for Soviets. And that means we'll have one match where Dutch Army, if it goes that way, Dutch Army is playing allies, GreenAlert is playing Soviets. That's their primary factions. That's going to be the best match. And then we get the reverse, where Dutch Army has to play Soviets and GreenAlert has to play allies. And then the other way that this could work out is if we just get 3 mirror matchups in a row, which would be kind of fascinating to see. And it would help us see which one of these players is better with each of these factions. Fire Island in an Empire mirror. It's been a while since we have seen an Empire mirror on this map. Empire mirrors are fairly rare these days. We've been seeing them maybe a little bit more recently. But yeah, it's just not very common to see Empire mirrors in general. Imperial Warriors getting cleaned up. Dutch Army wants to grab this second oil derrick if he can. His Tengus are keeping this oil derrick alive, or keeping this barracks alive for now. Ooh, that engineer doing a little reverse move out of here. He activated the speed boost, and now these Tengus will dive onto that engineer, and the Tengus will go for the explosion, but Dutch Army does manage to escape. Should be able to get the kill on this Tengu. Yeah. So he's cleaned up 2 Tengus. He loses an engineer, but cleaning up 2 Tengus is pretty significant. And at the same time, he's going to be pushing in. He will get this refinery regardless, one way or the other. It's going to go down, and GreenAlert just taps out. In a mirror matchup, it can be so difficult to come back from a deficit, but in that one, that was going to be a brutal opening there. 2 Tengus getting eliminated for nothing. And then that refinery after that, and that will kick off the finals of the faction trial match event with a win for Dutch Army. And that sends us to Battle Base Beta for our first straight-up match. This, as the green, is GreenAlert. Playing Soviets ready to go. Meanwhile, on the south side, playing Allies, this is Dutch Army. So they have decided to go with an Empire Mirror and then 2 AVS matches. GreenAlert will be playing Soviets here in game number 2. And because they went random in that first game and Dutch Army won, he may not actually get a chance to play Allies again. We shall see. But it is kind of weird that the way this match works up, if it's a 4-0, then Dutch Army will have only played 1 game as his primary faction, and the other 3 games would have to be wins with his with alternate factions. Oil Derrick getting targeted here. Battle Base Beta, solid map for everyone. Both of these players are going to have lots of experience on this map. Double barracks into the middle of the map. The Soviet player is always happy to go for that double barracks. And on top of that, Dutch Army did help clear out this building, so it was not able to be occupied by the Soviet forces. Dutch Army didn't clear out these buildings, though. He did leave those ones up and running. Airfield is up, positioned there towards the high ground, but the refinery is going to be coming down here on the water for Dutch Army, so he is going to be going for that Navy expansion first. And then based on the positioning of this airfield, he will quickly go to a 4th refinery up here on the high ground. Vindicators are here. Flak Cannon did get canceled. Vindicators coming in, and 1 Bullfrog goes down. 1 Vindicator goes down. 2nd Bullfrog emerges right there at the end, but not enough damage onto that Vindicator to actually kill it off. That would have been a fantastic opening if Dutch Army had lost both of his Vindicators. GreenAlert would have been feeling fantastic about that. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Dutch Army has managed to keep his Oil Derrick alive, and he's now got at least 1 Peacekeeper in this building, slowly chipping away at that Oil Derrick. GreenAlert is going to be hoping to save this so that he does not lose his Oil Derrick for no reason. High ground expansion here for GreenAlert. He decides to go for that refinery up on the high ground, and both players happy to play this one out a little bit slower, but very macro-oriented for them for now. We'll see if they go super greedy mode with fast 4 refineries, or if they just try to exist off of this 3 refinery economy for a little while. Oil Derrick back up to full. Molotov cocktails have forced those Peacekeepers out of the building, and now they are just going to be standing there waiting around for something to happen, possibly a cryo shot a little bit later on in this game. Vindicator comes in. Maybe he'll drop some bombs down the wall. No, he will actually go for the conscripts instead. And, well, the Peacekeepers are going to try and clear out this building, and Dutch Army is hoping that he can take this location and knock this refinery down. There's the MCV on the high ground for Dutch Army. Naval Yard does still exist out here, and he is still producing Riptides, maybe a Dolphin, if he suspects that his opponent will take that water expansion. But for now, GreenAlert gets the super reactor. Unfortunately, GreenAlert does lose his Oil Derrick, but the super reactor comes up. Hammer tanks are now going to be produced. I assume hammer tanks are coming up soon, but okay, Naval Yard. So Akula subs are potentially on the menu here for GreenAlert. Peacekeepers still into that building being annoying. Dutch Army able to reach all the way towards the middle of the map with his multi-gunner turret. And it is going to be an eventual kill of this Oil Derrick. GreenAlert happy to trade back 1 Oil Derrick for another. It's just taking a little bit longer for his to for him to be able to kill off the oil derrick of Dutch army. Vindicators coming in. They get the sickle, 4 refineries, and trimming your opponent's army. Dutch army is looking to be in a really solid position here in game number 2. First Akula sub is already out. Second Akula sub is heading forward, and the oil derrick will actually be saved the second time. And this is just clipping the wings of the army of GreenAlert, stopping GreenAlert from being able to get out and do some big damage. Hydrofoil is here, so weapons jammer can be utilized to stop the Akula sub from doing very much. Ultra torpedoes will still have to be contended with, and where do you throw your ultra torpedoes is ultimately the question here. He's going to try and use them right on the refinery. I think he was trying to splash damage the prospector as well, but that second Akula sub is going to be coming in, so there will be a second ultra torpedo soon. And yeah, with the Riptides, the Hydrofoil, and the Vindicator, you really can't engage this normally. You're just going to get weapon jammed, and then the Vindicators are going to jump on you just like that. So your real hope is getting those Ultra Torpedoes off, and in this case, he tried to draw away the Riptides as much as possible. Nice combo there. Double... Oh, no, nothing dies to the satellites, but the double Akula sub, and then following it up with the satellite drop. It can even just go into the corner to try and hide. He doesn't get any shots off before the weapons jammer comes in, and yeah, just go off into the corner, hide. You don't need to try and fight this fight here. On the other side, we do have Twin Blades coming out for GreenAlert. Dutch army. He's got a couple of Riptides here. He could try and attack this Conyard if he wants. Hammer Tank does go down. All of the Vindicators do survive for the current moment. Riptides are just going to be going down. They're just going to die to the Twin Blade there. And this MCV should be able to produce that refinery now. Looks like an Apollo did get cleaned up there by the Bullfrogs, and the Riptides will survive. GreenAlert misplacing a refinery there, but then correcting it quickly after. And Dutch Army, he's up to Tier 3. He is up to his War Factory, so Athena cannons are going to be out on the field very soon. And because the Prospector was never killed off, it turned into a command hub, and Dutch Army is back up to that 4 refinery economy. GreenAlert has to cancel his 4th refinery again. And Dutch Army just controlling this game. Pretty much every area of this game is a slow, steady lockdown by Dutch Army. GreenAlert may eventually finish up this 4th refinery, but it is slow, and it is... Ooh, these hammer tanks are very, very dangerous. They are in a lot of danger when they are flying over the water like this, but if they get dropped on into the main base or something, they have the potential of doing some big damage to these refineries. GreenAlert does back off. He decides it is not worth it, and time has elapsed. This is a lot of time. Cryo shot comes in, it looks like, and the Harvester does avoid it. It will take a bit of damage there. Not a big focus on aircraft for Dutch Army. He's happy to play this one out just with a mix of a little bit of everything. I guess he hasn't gone big into infantry. He's only got a couple of peacekeepers and a couple of jabs, but he's got some Mirage tanks, got some Guardians, got some IFVs, Athena cannon, no cryocopters. This is just straightforward Allies ground army from Dutch Army. And really, it's all off of the back of this 4 refinery setup. Very safe. No risky moves, really. No false attempts. He has just played this one out very straightforward, and he has played this one out very carefully. Athena cannon helping to clear out these buildings. Hammer tank numbers have already been chopped down a bit here, and another hammer tank does go down in these as these Vindicators head on home. Satellite drop comes in. You really need the toxins to be able to delay this attack. The satellite drop doesn't really find anything. Hammer tanks will be looking to leech away that Athena cannon beam, but I assume there are No, he didn't get a second Athena cannon. He's gone just pure Mirage tanks behind that. So, of course, Mirages do need to be able to close the distance. Aegis Shield will pop. A Leech Beam does get stopped. Twin Blades show up. No Apollos here to deal with the Twin Blades, so it's all about the Javs and the IFVs on the ground. A couple of Twin Blades going down there, and the Mirage tanks leading the charge. As soon as they close the distance, they will shred those hammers. And the Mirage field gets put up, trying to protect these units and stop the auto attacks from coming through. Dutch Army handling this engagement extremely well. He is in a very strong position, and Dutch Army might just have to kind of pivot to deal with a potential base trade coming in here for GreenAlert. There's a couple of Twin Blades moving in as well. Bullfrogs going down, and the Twin Blades now being targeted. The IFVs will clean them up, and the Hammer Tanks get caught by those Mirages, and that will do it. GreenAlert's army falls apart as Dutch Army gets the win in the straightforward match on Battle Base Beta. And now we move to the reverse matchup here on Snowplow. In the north, leading this series 2-0, this is Dutch Army. And in the south, playing the green, playing allies, this is GreenAlert. Interested to see how GreenAlert chooses to play this one out. For now, it's going to be a fast airfield in that very aggressive position. And this also, of course, allows you to get the refinery and have the repairs on the harvester right from the beginning. Vindicator is out. Dutch Army, did he? Okay, no, that's just a bear over there. I was like, did he actually send a engineer all the way over there? Dutch Army goes double refinery, and then he will be going into the war factory after that. And these Vindicators just contesting with these early conscripts, trying to keep those numbers down. And really, the Vindicators are hoping to get the great catch of finding an engineer, but in this case, it just won't happen. MCV repositioning. And GreenAlert is looking to play this one out very aggressive. We'll see if he gets a third refinery as well. It is nice to have a third refinery when you start this kind of turret push style, but he is going for, at the very least, a very aggressive MCV position. Ooh! Misclick there. He wastes one of the bombs. That is one extra conscript that will be around for the current moment. Flak cannon does get canceled. Dutch Army ready to go, and he now has to deal with his own turret push coming in from GreenAlert. The fact that there is 5 conscripts here, Molotoving that Conyard is certainly good for Dutch Army. GreenAlert does not get as many as he could. His bomb splits aren't quite perfect. And, well, that engineer will jump inside of the Bullfrog. Honestly, it'd be kind of funny to wait for the Vindicators to drop their bombs and then paradrop that engineer to the MCV. Well, the engineer goes down, so that's not going to happen. And that is a fantastic kill by GreenAlert. He catches both of those Bullfrogs. He gets all of the units inside of them as well. And now Dutch Army, who has moved his MCV up to the high ground for the potential of going for a third refinery, doesn't have a whole lot at the front to deal with these multi-gunner turrets. There's the sell-off of the back multi-gunner turret to keep the lights on. Dutch Army has a lot of aggression that he has to deal with, and this is one of the reasons why Snowplow is not in the map pool of any event that I choose the map pool for. Vindicator is going to be coming in. They're just going to drop their bombs on the very safe target of that ore refinery. And, well, GreenAlert has closed the distance with his opponent. He is blocking off these wall placements with these peacekeepers, and that refinery is going to be going down. Dutch Army is going to try and get up. Oh, no, that's a reactor. He is rebuilding the reactor, I guess, to keep the lights on here. As he loses that refinery, he now has plenty of overhead in the power grid. Dutch Army not able to keep his conscript numbers alive, not able to push across the map. If he had been able to get like 8 conscripts over here with the Bullfrogs to go for this airfield, then maybe he would have been able to keep up the pressure. But for now, he's just going to have to settle with this sickle going for the harassment. He has a couple of conscripts here to knock down that power plant. I mean, one key part of any multi-gunner turret push is the power requirements. Dutch Army does still have $2 grand in the bank. He could drop a barracks here and get an engineer out just to capture the oil derrick and have a little bit of income. Bullfrogs camping these Vindicators, and that will keep them from participating in the rest of this match. But of course, GreenAlert, as long as he can keep one Harvester online, which he hasn't. He didn't keep one Harvester online. He has the oil derrick, and he never got this third refinery. So the result is he doesn't have enough money to get out a refinery. He's close. He's like 600 credits away, or he was moments ago. And he can sell off both of these buildings back here to be able to get out that refinery. But he's going to have to kind of rebuild on the other side of the map. Cashback comes in. Dutch Army shutting down the economy of GreenAlert is crucial here. And now this Harvester will be able to get back to work. Now that now that the sickle is gone, there the wall cancel does come in. And GreenAlert, he's having to deal with the Molotov conscripts, a lowly unit, but one that has so much potential to disrupt. Second refinery is back online. GreenAlert, he managed to get his economy back online, back at home, and the toxins will be coming in from Dutch Army. Annoying to deal with, but certainly not the end of the world. Vindicator keeps an eye on this red Soviet MCV, and the Harvester will have to get called off the line, but at least GreenAlert is still producing money. He is still bringing in that cash. And no, he doesn't go for another refinery. He goes instead for a naval yard. As long as he is able to keep these refineries, hope springs eternal. Refinery coming up for Dutch Army. He is very low on cash. Fortunately, he does have that oil derrick, and he sells off the barracks to be able to finish this refinery. The one refinery Soviet economy. I mean, if Dutch Army wins this game, not only will he be up 3-0, but he will be in such an amazing position to take this show match in terms of the mental game and the actual map score. GreenAlert clears out that building, clears out that power plant, and now Dolphins are going to be moving into position, and the Dolphins are going to have to destroy this bridge so that they can get out to the open ocean. And there we go, the conscripts even getting a couple of shots on those Dolphins. Dolphins are now going to try and harass this refinery, shut down that expansion. Dutch Army now controls both oil derricks, but that is not much going on. I'm really surprised that GreenAlert has not taken a third refinery. At no point in this game did he get a third refinery up and running, and normally you would get the third refinery here. If you don't, you end up in this very low income kind of situation, and there the refinery gets sold off, and at least Dutch Army does get the cash back. He has been very consistent with this cash back, and it is keeping him in this game. Barracks gets sold off immediately. Conscript will get frozen, and I don't think the airfield was ever reproduced by GreenAlert. He now has 3 refineries, and now I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't have an airfield. But yeah, he did go for the naval yard and the Dolphins, which allowed him to kill off that refinery down here. And I guess he didn't, I'm not sure why he didn't go Riptides, because 3 Riptides obviously would give him the ability to still move forward. And there we go, we've got the GG coming out, and GreenAlert able to put a win on the board, able to take a point away from Dutch Army. And that takes us back to Infinity Isle for our return to the Empire mirror matchup. Playing the red on the left side, this is Dutch Army, able to get a pretty solid win in that game number 1. Let's see if he can repeat it here, or if the man on the right playing the green, this is GreenAlert, will mount the comeback, keep the momentum rolling in his direction, and be able to get revenge for that first Empire mirror, turn things around and say, no, it will not be like that game number 1, and instead, I'm going to actually come in here and knock you down. Couple of Imperial Warriors, couple of tank busters from both sides. Burst drones getting the scout for both players. At least I think there is a burst drone for GreenAlert. Maybe he got a burst drone and it just, okay, yeah, it already went down on that ore collector. Mecha Bay is up. And, oh, it's going to be a sudden transport. So instead of Riptide Jab, it's going to be sudden transport Tank Buster. And that will be the choice for Dutch Army. GreenAlert, on the other hand, is going to... Oh, he goes disguised as a Harvester. That's not much of a disguise, but GreenAlert will know about this very soon. And GreenAlert actually has his own sudden transport. How do you do? How do you do? Nope, never mind. Dutch Army turns around. He sees the sudden transport of GreenAlert, and he's like, I'm not sure that I want to do this. First Harvester is being harassed. Refinery is being targeted. And Tengu versus Tengu. Never a fun engagement to have. Dutch Army might get bested here, but that's still just the sudden transport. And Dutch Army, I think, does manage to escape. So he sneaks out of there. He keeps all of his Tengus alive. And with this build, where they are pretty close to exactly mirrored, it is very difficult for anyone to feel confident about an engagement. Every time you poke or prod, you are a little bit worried that your opponent is going to get the better of you. That one extra unit will go down, and then you will end the game right here, right there. Tank Busters loaded inside of these sudden transports make them a very high value target. They have a lot of potential to be able to put out damage, but they also have a lot of potential to be able to die and to be a huge loss for either player. GreenAlert looking to get the surprise here on Dutch Army. It's going to be Tank Busters from both sides getting slaughtered, and the sudden transport will be going down, but who gets the Tengu kills? That is what Dutch Army is looking for, and he gets at least a couple of the Tengus there. If he gets the oil derrick as well, that'll be some nice additional damage here. Two Tank Busters probably will not be able to shut this down. GreenAlert has abandoned this position with his Tengus. He doesn't want to lose anything more, and Dutch Army is going to be able to get that oil derrick. He kills off the last of the Tank Busters, and he escapes with most of his Tengus. GreenAlert is going to chase. The weakened Tengu goes to the back. GreenAlert commits heavy into the back line of Dutch Army, and at least one of the Tengus will pay the price for that. Transform's going to be coming in here from Dutch Army and GreenAlert, trying to stay on top of each other as Tengu after Tengu goes down. And GreenAlert on the other side of the map has his own harassment to worry about. Dutch Army is dominating the EVE mirror matchup, showing himself to be the better Empire player among the two, and Dutch Army gets another win here in the mirror matchup and puts himself into match point heading into game number 5 of the faction trial match, which sends us to a map that we have not seen in a very long time. This is Temple Prime. We are back to our standard matchup for game number 5. On the left, this is Dutch Army. And on the right, this is GreenAlert. Soviets versus Allies. This is the straightforward match that we were looking for. The last time we saw it, it was slow and steady wins the race. Dutch Army did not do anything aggressive. He did not do anything fancy. He got up 3 refineries with a very solid foundation. Then he went to 4 refineries. He played a ground army allied strategy. He did not use cryocopters. He did not go for a turret push. It was just very straightforward, solid allied play. He just was the better of the two, and now we are back. The deciding game potentially here, with Dutch Army up 3-1 in this best of 7, is going to be the return to that same matchup. Allies v Soviets, Dutch Army's strongest suit versus GreenAlert's strongest suit. Being forced to rotate the factions, even with the random start, kind of giving us a mirror matchup. But being forced to rotate the factions really does give a good showcase of which player is better all around. Not just the best at their faction, but better with every faction. And as we've seen in a lot of these matches, it has been one player who has sort of shown that they are the better player overall. And right now, Dutch Army is on the cusp of doing that here in the finals, showing why he was worthy to be sitting waiting in the finals for those preliminary qualifying matches to round out. One Vindicator does go down. Good for GreenAlert. But of course, this also doesn't mean that it is smooth sailing from now. He got the first kill, but he really needs to combo that with quite a few more. Third refinery comes up out here on the water. Terror Drone just going to be locking down that prospector, forcing a Vindicator to come out here and respond. Vindicator does get the kill. Riptide shows up at the same time, so it would have been the Riptide or it would have been the Vindicator. That Terror Drone kind of can't dodge everything forever, but he does slow down the economy of Dutch Army by just a little bit. For now, both players do control one oil derrick, so with the third refineries and the oil derrick, they've got a solid foundation. And GreenAlert looking to do a little bit of poking and prodding. He doesn't have sickles or a hammer tank, so he won't be able to knock down that Riptide. And unfortunately, those conscripts were not able to dislodge these peacekeepers from that building. So the dog just deals with the conscripts, and GreenAlert has to go back home. He doesn't quite get anything that he was hoping. He really wanted to annoy Dutch Army more than that, force Dutch Army to respond a little bit more to that attack. And instead, he just forces the sell-off of that reactor. He doesn't need the reactor. He still has one reactor as a backup, and then he's got the super reactor as well. So having that other reactor really is not that big of a deal. Dutch Army, decent scouting around the map. He controls the building in the middle. He's got his MCV on the high ground, and then he's also watching this expansion down here. Got one of the buildings there, so he's got pretty good vision all over the map. About half of the map he's got really good vision of. GreenAlert, on the other hand, his vision isn't quite as far spread, but he's going to be bringing some pressure to this MCV. Hammer tanks and a terror drone could cause some real problems for this MCV. Multi-gunner turret isn't done yet. Terror drone does get sniped immediately. Fourth refinery comes up for Dutch Army. Once again, playing this one out very straightforward. Nice and standard. GreenAlert is going to try and be aggressive here, and he's not actually backing off. He's going to go for the crush. He will get a lot of these javelin troopers. The bear coming in to help finish off the rest of these forces, and the Riptides will get overwhelmed by these hammer tanks. The Vindicators need desperately to refuel and rearm so that they can join the fight once again. There's only two Bullfrogs here, but there's only one Vindicator at the current moment. Two Vindicators come up. They take a lot of damage. They will be able to deal with two of those hammer tanks. Both of them go down, but that is a happy trade for the allied player, as he is going to be fine with losing one Vindicator for clearing out both of those hammer tanks, which were weakened from their fight with the Riptides and the Javs. Fourth refinery comes up for Dutch Army. Fourth refinery moments away here for GreenAlert. He is forced to get a Tesla coil as well, so he will be able to clear out that dog, and now he will be able to go for that refinery, but he needs some forces back at home as well. Ooh, toxins dropped. Yep, toxin drop on the high ground. A nice choice by GreenAlert. Clears out the building, and then also cuts off that ramp from your opponent. They can't actually use it. Bear comes in. Love the bear to just clear out the infantry. Keeping those javelin soldier numbers low is great for GreenAlert. Oil derrick does get sniped, so unfortunately for GreenAlert, he loses that extra bit of income, but it's sort of more than made up for it with all of the peacekeepers and Javs that have been cleaned up. Bear getting killed by his own toxins. Unfortunately for GreenAlert, he will lose that bear, but a couple of Akula subs could very easily end this refinery. Now, on Battle Base Beta, it did not work out well. Those Akula subs were just a big lost cause for GreenAlert. So hopefully he has better luck here, but Dutch Army already spots it, so Hydrofoil should be coming out as well. And there it is. The weapons jammer plus the Vindicators will basically stop these Akula subs from doing anything other than using their ultra torpedoes. And GreenAlert hoping to bait out some Vindicator bombs, but there he will get the damage done with that Akula. The Ultra Torpedoes fire off, and the cashback comes in as well. 4 Vindicators, the Hammer Tanks just now being rebuilt, but with 4 refineries and no oil derrick. GreenAlert is still spending himself empty. He's producing Akula subs, Hammer Tanks, a airfield, and that's actually a reactor, not a crusher crane coming up for the repairs. So that is another problem that GreenAlert will have to solve, is the viability and health of his units. He is fighting with his event life on the line here, and Tier 2 is now done. Guardian tanks are being produced by the allied player. Still no cryocopters. Dutch Army keeps his airfield far away. He did not actually rebuild the airfield and replace it at a more advantageous location. Instead, he is just happy to play this one out with the minor cryo shots. Bullfrog gets sent forward. Hammer Tank drives back into the cryo shot. Unfortunately for GreenAlert, he just sacrifices 2 of those Hammer Tanks there, and that is a bad situation. No toxin drop to come in to be the counter attack for that kind of action. Akula subs getting ganged up on. They might be able to get the kill here on the refinery if they had a satellite drop, but it's not going to happen. And GreenAlert gets broken at the front line. GreenAlert dies on the water, and Dutch Army, once again, with a very straightforward, solid allied build. 4 refineries, Guardian tanks, as nice as you could ask. And the result is, he is crushing GreenAlert here. 3 in Game 5. Not quite 4 games in a row, but he will get the win here if he does not have a major misstep. Terror Drone will get the kill on this Guardian tank and gets a reinfect as well. Guardian tanks getting crushed. MCV does come in for it, and he gets 2 Guardian tanks for the price of 1 potentially here. Even one of them heroic, as the refinery will be getting targeted. The Tesla coil has been sold off. The naval yard is gone. And Dutch Army even denies the oil derrick capture there in the north. That Peacekeeper comes out of his building to get the kill on that engineer. And Dutch Army, with a fantastic 4 refinery oil derrick setup, is now going to destroy that MCV of the Soviet player. GreenAlert taps out as Dutch Army gets the win. The better player across all 3 factions. GreenAlert puts 1 point on the board, playing allies on Snowplow. But Dutch Army gets the wins everywhere else. Big thanks to Brett A for sponsoring this event, for I think also coming up with this style, which is a great way to force people out of their comfort zone and give us more variety here in Red Alert 3. Big thanks to Rage of Heat for helping Brett A host this. And I thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And this is Sybert signing out.